Chapter 245. With the appearance of the two swordsmen, the others kept quiet out of fear. It was obvious who the saber would be. But the saber was gliding in the air. Neither of the two swordsmen dared to grab it. Instead, they were confronting each other. Kanken. That kind of strict vigilance, that kind of serious posture, that kind of aura as if they were facing a great enemy, that kind of irreconcilable gaze. The crisscrossing sword energy emitted from the two swordsmen turned this cold winter night into a world of ice and snow. These two were actually confronting each other? Guarding against each other? So these two were not on the same side? At this moment, the four revered martial artists regretted it so much that their intestines turned green. If we knew they were not on the same side, then we could have joined forces to deal with the other. Now, the saber that was already in our hands was given away by us. The saber continued to glide in the air. Coincidentally, it passed over Jianghu's head. However, the original owner of the underworld saber, who was already injured, cheered and jumped up to snatch the underworld saber back. He laughed loudly, "Two big idiots, thanks a lot. Haha." He made a turn in the air as nimble as a swallow. With a whoosh, he blended into the night. Almost at the same time, everyone spat on the ground. "Serves you right. You were right to scold. You are two big idiots. Humph, calling you idiots is an insult to idiots." It was obviously to snatch the saber. "What did you two swordsmen come here for? Now no one got the saber. You two knocked the saber away and then started to fight among yourselves? But no one dared to provoke these two. Everyone was cursing in their hearts, but they kept their heads down and chased after them. Then the two swordsmen kept their swords at the same time. Then the two actually followed behind the crowd and chased after them. This time, everyone wanted to cry but had no tears. They are still coming? Fuck me, Jianghu was running so uncomfortable that he wanted to cry. On the other hand, he was so jealous that he wanted to die. He was so jealous that tears were streaming down his face. Swordsman. Fuck, Gu Duxing is a swordsman now. Gu Duxing, who was originally as famous as me, is now a swordsman. And a revered sword master. Chuyang is also a swordsman. Jianghu almost wanted to find a place where no one was around and cry out loud. What a huge difference. His heart was too unbalanced. After making a few turns, he got rid of his pursuers. When he met up with Miao Budong, he found that Miao Budong's face was also dejected. However, when Rui Budong saw Jianghu, his face immediately showed a kind of comforting expression that said, "Others are riding horses, I'm riding a donkey, there are worse things to come. Yes, I'm no match for Gu Duxing in the first place, so what's the big deal? Look at Jianghu. He's the most miserable one. Poor kid. He was originally neck and neck with Jianghu. But now he's been left far behind." Thinking this way, not only did Miao Budong not feel uncomfortable in his heart, he actually became incomparably happy. Seeing Jianghu's face as he walked over, as if a donkey had been whipped 88 times, Miao Budong almost laughed out loud. The first sentence he said was, "Oh, my second brother is a swordsman now. It seems like he has broken through to Sword Venerable. This is great news. When we go back, we must drink a few cups of wine." Jianghu gritted his teeth. The muscles on his face almost spasmed as he said, "Shut up. I'm so envious." Miao Budong made an exaggerated gesture. Suddenly, he acted as if he had just woken up from a dream. "Third brother Jianghu, I remember that you and second brother are equally famous in the three heavens." Jianghu's breath was heavy. His eyes shone as if he wanted to eat someone. Miao Budong was extremely happy. He recklessly continued to provoke, "Oh my, now it seems that you are also an 8th grade martial great master? Woo, your advancement is so fast. I'm so envious." Whoa. Of all people, he touched a sore spot. Looking at Miao Budong's shameless smile that had reached a certain level of schadenfreude, Jianghu gritted his teeth and suddenly laughed. "Brother." "Yes." Miao Budong said evasively, "Then, pretend I didn't say anything." "How can you not say anything?" Jianghu affectionately hugged his neck. The two of them walked back with their arms around each other's shoulders. "You're right. Tonight we brothers must have a good drink. Let's celebrate." Actually, the most worthy thing to celebrate is not second brother's breakthrough, but, your cultivation seems to be lower than mine by 2 grades. This really makes me happy. Jianghu excitedly laughed. "Brother, don't you think so?" Miao Budong tragically laughed dryly. He carefully said, "Third brother, you are a magnanimous person?" Yes, let's go. Today I will properly, seriously, and do my best to entertain you." Jianghu's hand tightened. Miao Budong suddenly felt that his shoulder could not move. Half of his body was also numb in an instant. His face was filled with a dejected smile. He hardened his heart and thought, since I am going to be tortured by you, I might as well say it to my heart's content. Third brother, since it is so, I will not hesitate to let you have a good time today. Who asked second brother to break through? Don't you think so? I know that you are not feeling good in your heart, right? I also know that you are disappointed and frustrated. Your frustration and sorrow, your pain and sadness, your powerless frustration and your sense of distance. Oh, I am very sympathetic. Third brother, please come. I can handle it. Rui Badong tragically said. Rise. Before he could finish, his words turned into moans. Then GMO gritted his teeth and directly lifted him up. Word by word, he squeezed out from between his teeth. Good. Good, good, good. Since you have such intentions, if I, your third brother, don't properly enjoy it, then wouldn't I be letting you down? They flew away. The two of them had just disappeared when a man in green appeared from the shadows. Looking at the two of them leaving, he could not help but wipe off his cold sweat. His whole body was still trembling. My mother. The man in green groaned and muttered to himself. These two fellows can't be homosexual, right? These words give me goosebumps all over my body. As he spoke, he rolled up his sleeves and scratched. This is too scary. If GMO and Miao Badong knew that they could make an expert who was at least an emperor level feel so terrified, they would definitely feel a sense of accomplishment. But if they knew that the two of them had unintentionally thrown someone into the upper three heavens, they would probably want to cry but have no tears. One could not blame them for thinking too much. It was just that the two of them had said too much. Something about having a good time, entertaining you, thoroughly enjoying. I have to find that little one. If these two fellows are really homosexual, the man in green muttered to himself, but it is also very strange. Isn't that little bastard a martial master? How did he break through to martial great master so quickly? And he even became a swordsman? I have never seen such a high speed. Even if he was piled up with purple crystal jade, it would still be impossible. Could it be that I missed something? The green-clothed man thought to himself as he flew away. This continent's capital has been turned upside down. That scoundrel must have been killed by someone. After turning a corner, GMO finally let go of Miao Badong. Oh my God, did you feel it? Nonsense. Don't doubt my spiritual sense. Ian Badong cried out as if he had been insulted. As he spoke, he carefully looked back with lingering fear. It is definitely not an illusion. GMO wiped his sweat. This is too motherfucking scary. Suddenly, I felt as if I had walked into a mass grave. That pressure, TSK, although my G-clan is big, there is no one who can have such a terrifying aura. I really don't know what kind of mental illness this kind of expert has. He actually followed us. Fuck, I thought we were exposed. Miao Badong grinned. The two of them were outstanding geniuses. Their spiritual senses were very strong. Although the man in green did not appear and did not emit any aura, the two of them instinctively felt nervous. It was like a normal person walking through a mass grave in the dark night without any stars or moon. Normally, this kind of feeling would not appear on a martial artist. But as long as it was a person with such a strong spiritual sense, as long as he was given the opportunity to grow, he would definitely become an unparalleled character. This kind of sensitive feeling, if it appeared on an official, he would definitely be able to avoid disaster. If it appeared on a general, he would definitely be able to win a battle from 1,000 miles away. If it appeared on a martial artist, he would definitely become an overlord. Instinct. Yes, third brother. You also know that what I said was not targeted at you. It was all because of this mysterious... Miao Budong's face was full of flattery. Yes, I know you are not targeting me. But I feel uncomfortable listening to it. Since I feel uncomfortable, then you should feel even more uncomfortable. Let's go back and entertain you. GMO said rudely, I really have to praise your mouth. How can it be so clever? No way. Miao Badong screamed. This night to Continent City was definitely a night of bloodshed. At dawn, all the prisons in Continent City were filled to the brim. Moreover, a temporary military camp was set up to imprison a large number of people. However, the number of Jianghu people in Continent City only increased and did not decrease. Prime Minister's manner. Diwu Qingro was wearing light clothes and holding a small pair of scissors. He was carefully cutting the potted plant on his desk. His movements were light and slow. His expression was carefree and relaxed. His eyes were as calm as water. The slight impatience from a day ago had already disappeared. Han Buchu and Jing Menghun hurriedly walked in. What's the matter? Why are you panicking? Diwu Qingro said casually. He was still completely focused on the potted plant. He did not even look at them from the corner of his eyes. It was as if at this moment his entire mind was only on the potted plant. Gao Sheng was about to speak when Han Buchu gently pulled his sleeve. Diwu Qingro acted as if no one else was present as he trimmed the potted plant. After he finished trimming, he looked at it from different directions. Then he satisfactorily picked up a snow-white handkerchief and wrapped the trimmed plant in it. Then he calmly washed his hands. Almost half an hour had passed. Chapter 246. Did something big happen? Look at your tearful words. You really surprised us. These people looked at each other. Last night, the entire continent was turned upside down. Even now, the smell of blood still lingers in the air. Could it be that you did not hear anything at the Prime Minister's manor? We do not believe this. However, even though the three of them thought this, seeing Diwu Qingro's calm demeanor, they could not help but feel at ease. It was as if no matter how big of a matter it was not worth worrying about. When he first came in, he was impulsive and had already unknowingly run off somewhere. Something big happened. Jing Minghun said, last night, more than 20,000 Jianghu people fought over Ask the Heaven Sword and Underworld Saber. There were large-scale fights in many places in the city. The Ministry of Justice, the Ministry of Revenue, and the Ministry of Rights were destroyed. Even the capital's garrison was turned into ruins. There were countless casualties. Right now we are counting. Oh. Diwu Qingro nodded. Is that all? Is that all? The three of them were speechless. Is that all? Especially Jing Minghun, he was even more depressed. Last night, Diwu Qingro strictly ordered Golden Horse Riders Department not to participate. That was why Continent City was in such a mess. If Golden Horse Riders Department was involved, it would not have been this chaotic. King of Helchu's plan is really vicious. Han Buchu said worriedly, plus it seems like it has succeeded. It has successfully caused chaos in Continent City. Right now, Continent City is like a battlefield. More and more outsiders are coming in. Continent City is about to be full. The bloody fights are getting more and more intense. Right now there are hundreds of fights every day. Many Jianghu people even dare to attack the army. The ordinary people are even more anxious. If this continues, what will happen? Diwu Qingro looked up and said thoughtfully, Gao Sheng, what about that Duke Ji? He knows King of Helchu and they have a good relationship. He did not hide anything about this. Gao Sheng frowned, but he also refused to reveal any information. Plus, he said that when the Ji clan comes to Continent City, he will return with the clan. It really is watertight. Diwu Qingro sighed softly. Then he nodded and said, such an aristocratic family's younger brother is indeed extraordinary. Originally there wouldn't be any breakthrough here. But, have you conveyed our attitude? Yes, but GMO didn't seem to care about it, Gao Sheng said. His reaction was very calm. We need to send an expert to keep an eye on GMO's whereabouts. Diwu Qingro pondered, what about that Feng Butong? Is there anything suspicious? As for that Mao Tong Tong, he is the descendant of the stealing god and thieving ghost. Gao Sheng cautiously said, this person's status is extraordinary. He has two masters who are at the peak of the king level. So, I'm afraid that there will be endless troubles in the future if we touch him. And searching for him is not within the rules of the layered heaven. As long as the identity is verified, a small Tong Tong is not worth making a move. Diwu Qingro chuckled and said, last night the garrison outside the city did not move, right? No. Han Buchu solemnly said, Prime Minister, we must mobilize the garrison outside the city to come in. With just the ones inside the city, I'm afraid that our strength is too weak. Otherwise, Diwu Qingro waved his hand and said decisively, let him make a ruckus. Let him make a mess. The bigger the ruckus, the better. It would be best if we could attract all the Jianghu people within 1,000 miles of Great Zhao. Han Buchu had never imagined that Diwu Qingro would say something like this. Prime Minister, if we let him make a ruckus, I am afraid that this city will. Han Buchu sucked in a breath of cold air and said hurriedly, Buchu, you are still stuck in the old style of dynasty power struggle. You see the importance of a city. Diwu Qingro gently said, you need to look at the long term. The long term? Han Buchu was a little perplexed. After following Diwu Qingro for so many years, this was the first time he felt that his thoughts could not keep up. Prefecture was the capital of Great Zhao. How important was it? Was it not important in Diwu Qingro's eyes? Prefecture is the capital of Great Zhao. It is located in the heart of Great Zhao. It is surrounded by many cities and heavily guarded. Even the closest enemy was at least 1,000 miles away. It is not an exaggeration to say that it is impregnable. Diwu Qingro smiled faintly, but in my eyes this is simply a joke. A joke that people despise. Joke? Han Buchu frowned and lowered his head to ponder the meaning of these words. Not only him but even Gao Sheng and Jing Menghun could not help but think about it. Building the capital in a place that is protected on all sides is simply a cradle for cowards. Diwu Qingro said in a low voice, the capital cannot be built on the front lines, but it should not be built in a cradle. It should be set at an appropriate distance so that there will always be a sense of crisis. Then, no matter if it is a minister or a general, they will work hard to protect it. Moreover, they will do their best to expand the territory and eliminate the threat. This is the way for a country to prosper. That year, the first monarch of Great Zhao was a man of great talent and bold vision. But he clearly did it for the sake of enjoyment and for the sake of preserving his legacy. Therefore he built the capital and prefecture. It is a miracle that such a monarch could establish a country. But in the years that followed, their misdirection delayed Great Zhao for hundreds of years. For generations, this invisible idea of preserving the legacy has influenced the monarchs of Great Zhao. It has also delayed Great Zhao's hegemony. Even if he was a promising monarch, he would be thousands of miles away from the battlefield. All he could see and hear was singing and dancing. How could he cultivate any ambition? Diwu Qingro smiled faintly, but his smile was full of mockery. Therefore, Great Zhao did not start to expand until I, Diwu Qingro, was born. Before, it was not that we did not have the strength to expand but that we did not want to. Without me, Great Zhao, I dare say that one day Great Zhao would have collapsed into a comfortable place. And the biggest threat is Iron Cloud. Diwu Qingro walked to the window and looked to the north. He slowly said, you see, when it is snowing and cold in Iron Cloud, the passers-by wear 3 layers of raccoon fur coats and still feel cold. But here we only wear a jacket and we can survive the winter. 3,000 miles south of Prefecture Jing, it is like spring all year round. Such a big difference in geography, can't you see it? What? Han Buchu asked subconsciously. A cold place is bound to give birth to unruly people. A harsh place is bound to give birth to martial arts. Moreover, Iron Cloud is covered with grasslands and close to the northern border. Iron Cloud's men, when they look around, are connected to heaven and earth. How big of a mind is that? In the long run, how can martial arts not become the norm? Diwu Qingro said, for thousands of years the northerners have been the symbol of valiance. Moreover, the chaos on the borders was caused by the northerners. Compared to Iron Cloud, Great Zhao is too weak. Diwu Qingro said casually, therefore we must make changes. Han Buchu was silent. He carefully thought about Diwu Qingro's words. He felt that they made some sense but also seemed to be full of other meanings. When you look at Iron Cloud Nation, you only see that it is being suppressed by Great Zhao. But you forget, how many years has it been since Iron Cloud was founded? Diwu Qingro said casually, 300 years ago, Iron Cloud's Tai clan was only a noble family. But after years of expansion, the clan's private army expanded to the point where it became ambitious. So it was replaced. 200 years ago, Iron Cloud was founded. At that time, it was only a country with a dozen cities. 130 years ago, Iron Cloud already had a large amount of land. It had nearly 100 cities. 80 years ago, Iron Cloud's territory expanded again. We had an army of 1 million people. Diwu Qingro sighed deeply. 40 years ago, Tai Shicheng appeared out of nowhere. He directly doubled the size of Iron Cloud's territory within 10 years. Slowly, even the grasslands did not dare to invade Iron Cloud. And Tai Shicheng was not satisfied. He led 1 million troops south to fight a decisive battle with Great Zhao. Diwu Qingro took a deep breath. Today, even though I have trapped Iron Cloud with my evil plan, the new ruler of Iron Cloud, Tai Butian, is also a genius. In 200 years, Iron Cloud has changed 7 or 8 rulers. But Iron Cloud's territory has expanded from 200 years ago to the present. It is already thousands of times bigger than when it was founded. Diwu Qingro sighed. Facing this kind of data, do you not feel the pressure? Do you not feel fear? What does this mean? Have you not thought about it at all? Diwu Qingro's eyes showed a trace of exhaustion. Could it be, these rulers of Iron Cloud were all founding monarchs? Han Buchu finally understood something. After thinking about it carefully, he suddenly said an answer that made even him dumbfounded. More than 10 rulers, more than 10 peerless heroes. Diwu Qingro's eyes were deep, more than 10 ambitious overlords. And think about the Great Zhao Empire. In the past 200 years, more than 20 rulers have appeared. Di Wuqing sighed deeply. How about comparing it to Iron Cloud? Han Buchu lowered his head in shame. It had to be said that ever since the founding of the country, there were only a few emperors who worked hard to make Great Zhao prosperous. However, after that, there was no movement, and they maintained the foundation of their ancestors. It looked like they were defending, but in reality they were retreating. In the past few years, there were not many rulers who were incapable. But they were all mediocre and did not have the domineering aura to swallow the world. Compared to the rulers of Iron Cloud, the rulers of Great Zhao were the same as trash. Such rulers are not fit to be rulers. Di Wuqing sighed deeply. Such rebellious words came out of his mouth, but Han Buchu and the others only felt that it was a matter of course. They were indeed not fit. Chapter 247. For 3 consecutive days, Ask the Heaven's Sword and Underworld Saber appeared for 3 consecutive nights. And on these 3 nights they turned the capital into a mess. More than half of the government offices were destroyed. However, Di Wuqing's people were only capturing people, and they were still capturing people. They did not care about this phenomenon at all. The captured people would be secretly transferred to the headquarters of Golden Horse Riders Department on the same day. And then they continued. Chu Yang was looking forward to the 3 days when all the big clans participated in the fight, but it did not happen. Chu Yang felt that something was not right. These days he had a lot on his mind. It was not until the afternoon of the 3rd day that he suddenly came back to his senses. This is bad. Chu Yang slapped his thigh. His eyes suddenly flashed with understanding. What's wrong? Gu Duxing wiped his black dragon sword and did not raise his head. We are creating chaos by doing this, but it is also very likely that we are doing Di Wuqing a big favor. Chu Yang smiled bitterly. The power of Jianghu, the power of Jianghu. You mean, Di Wuqing is also adding fuel to the fire? Gu Duxing suddenly raised his head and asked in disbelief. This is inevitable. Chu Yang sighed and took a deep breath. He quickly calmed his emotions. At this point, being impatient would only lead to death. Even if he could not calm down, he had to force himself to calm down. An old fox is still an old fox. On this matter, I made a big mistake. Chu Yang felt that his blood was still boiling, so he began to analyze himself. Analyzing his own mistakes was the fastest way to calm down and find a way out. Even though he did not have a clue, he hoped to find a way out in this analysis. You made a big mistake? Gu Duxing frowned. There is no problem with our plan. Plus, this is also the best way to create chaos. Only when the chaos in Jianghu arouses the dissatisfaction of the court can we start the next step of the plan. There is no problem at all, so why? Jianghu. The power of Jianghu has always been the biggest worry of the court. It is also the source of the chaos. For many years they have been opposing each other. Chu Yang slowly organized his thoughts. The court can only pacify the power circle of Jianghu. They can never eliminate it or take it for their own use. But I gave Di Wuqing such an opportunity. At this moment, Chu Yang recalled what Tai Budian had once said. The martial world is the predecessor of the imperial court. When the inferior forces develop to a certain extent, they can replace them. Then they can quickly change their appearance and become the imperial court. The people of Jianghu had always looked down on scholars, but when they gained political power, the first thing they did was to eliminate the people of Jianghu. The first thing they promoted and supported was still the scholars. This was what Tai Budian had said to Chu Yang when they first met. Now that Chu Yang thought about it, he suddenly felt very regretful. He understood that the biggest mistake he had made was that he hadn't discussed this operation with Tai Budian. With Tai Butian's outstanding political mind, she would definitely be able to fix the loopholes in this plan. But at that time he and Tai Budian had fallen into an inexplicable stalemate. This led to him making the final decision. Thinking of this, Chu Yang sighed. Success and failure were all because of Xiao He. This sentence had been perfectly interpreted here. In order to stop Di Wuqing's plan, Chu Yang made Du Shiqing disappear for 4 months. And it was this matter that disrupted Di Wuqing's overall deployment. It gave Iron Cloud a chance to breathe and also bought time for this trip to the prefectures. It delayed the pace of war. But it was also because of this that it caused Tai Butian's dissatisfaction. Although she still trusted him, the knot in her heart had not been untied. This led to the fact that she didn't discuss with Tai Budian this time. Although he had the experience of 2 lifetimes, he still didn't know much about politics. Another thing was Tai Butian's endless trust in him. No matter what decision he made, Tai Budian would always support him. Including this trip to Great Zhao, Tai Budian completely trusted him without reservation. But this time her trust led to a huge oversight. Thinking of this, Chu Yang felt a little upset. Chu Yang, you are not omnipotent. In terms of martial world, you are not as good as Mo Tianji. In terms of politics, you are far worse than Diwu Qingro. If you continue like this, what awaits you will definitely be defeat and death. Chu Yang said to himself silently in his heart. Then he stood up and paced a few steps in the room. He said softly, "If there is a next life, I will dance with you." Mo Qingwu. Right now, only Mo Qingwu was Chu Yang's motivation. She was also the best medicine to force him to calm down completely. If I lose, even if there is a next life, I won't have the chance to dance with you. Gu Duxing heard Chu Yang say something in a low voice but didn't hear it clearly. Just as he was about to ask, he saw Chu Yang suddenly turn his head and say solemnly, seriously, "I was wrong in this matter." These words seemed to have been dug out from Chu Yang's heart. After saying these words, Chu Yang suddenly felt a sense of relief. Yes, relief. Generations of experts were able to discover the enemy's shortcomings and weaknesses and make use of them. This was a must. But how many people could face their own mistakes head-on? It was precisely because they didn't face their own mistakes that countless heroes were defeated and died with grievances. When Chu Yang said these words, perhaps he didn't know it himself, but in this instant, he had conquered the biggest inner demon that every human in the world had. Facing one's own weaknesses, facing one's own flaws, and admitting one's own failure. Diwu Qingrou's Great Zhao has even more Jianghu people. Plus, Great Zhao has always been peaceful, so there are even more conflicts between the government and Jianghu, and they are even more irreconcilable. Chu Yang smiled and said, "Therefore, Great Zhao's Jianghu is Diwu Qingrou's biggest headache." You mean, because Iron Cloud has been in a weak position these past few years, they have a common enemy. Even if there are conflicts, they can be reconciled? But Great Zhao is not like this? Gu Duxing was also a smart person. He immediately understood the deeper meaning of these words. Yes. So this time, ask the Heaven Sword and Underworld Saber are the same as Great Zhao's Jianghu people gathering in Feng Prefecture, giving Diwu Qingro a chance to catch them all in one fell swoop. Gu Duxing frowned. Not only that. Chu Yang slowly said, "If I were Diwu Qingro, I would use this opportunity to let Jianghu people fight each other and kill each other. Then I would sit back and reap the benefits. If I can catch, I can catch, I can catch. Once the dust settles, it will be time for me to subdue these people. Even if I only control a part of it, it will still be a huge force. Plus, after this incident, Great Zhao's Jianghu will not be able to recover for a long time. Even though there is chaos, it will take a long time to eliminate internal problems. The biggest chaos has already passed for 3 days. Chu Yang calmly said, Prefecture is full of wounds, but Diwu Qingro has already caught more than 1,000 people. The chaos in Prefecture is something that can be solved with money and ordinary manpower. They just need to fix it and leave. But Diwu Qingro is using this opportunity to gather forces that can be used for a long time to attack us again and again. Therefore, even though we have gained at least half a year to a year for Iron Cloud, fundamentally speaking, Diwu Qingro still has the advantage. Chu Yang coldly said, plus the chaos is already over. Diwu Qingro can continue to take advantage of this. Once Diwu Qingro gathers more people than we can handle, then Diwu Qingro will no longer have any scruples. Chu Yang gently smiled, Diwu Qingro is amazing. Gu Duxing was a little dizzy after hearing this. He asked, if that is the case, how do we break it? Break it? Chu Yang stood up and slowly pondered. After a long time he said, we can only continue to move forward and cannot stop. Therefore we cannot break it for the time being. We can only look for opportunities in the following time. Diwu Qingro's meticulousness is something I cannot compare to. He can unwittingly turn a completely bad thing into a good thing. His method is very simple, but it can hit a vital point and make it impossible for me to fight back. Chu Yang gently sighed. Facing this kind of opponent is really a big challenge in life. Even though he was sighing, Gu Duxing clearly saw that Chu Yang's eyes were shining with fighting spirit. Gu Duxing could not help but sigh and said enviously, Chu Yang, do you know? Just now you changed. Gu Duxing was very clear that the current Chu Yang was fundamentally different from the Chu Yang from before. And this kind of change was only for a moment. In the past, Chu Yang always gave people the feeling that everything was under his control. Even though that could make him appear very bold, it always made people feel that he was somewhat conceited. But the current Chu Yang was as humble as a valley. This kind of change was a fundamental change in mentality. It was equivalent to a rebirth of the soul. Or it could be said that the current Chu Yang was officially declared mature. Under the strong pressure of Diwu Qingro, Chu Yang broke through his own heart. So Gu Duxing was very envious, because he clearly knew that the heart was the result of heaven and earth. How could it be easy to break through one's own mentality? Breaking through one's mentality was better than breaking through 10 levels in martial arts in a row, because this was a huge improvement that could not be measured at all. Even though Chu Yang was indeed at a disadvantage now, Gu Duxing felt that with Chu Yang's breakthrough this time, even if Diwu Qingro temporarily took the lead, it would be fine, right? Should we inform GMO and the others to stop? Gu Duxing asked. No. The plan will still be carried out according to the original plan, no change. Chu Yang's eyes were full of contemplation as he said, Diwu Qingro turned a bad thing into a good thing? Can I turn this good thing into a bad thing again? The members of the 3 clans have all arrived. According to the news, they all seem to be staying at Heaven-Reaching Tower. Chu Yang quietly pondered and said, this should be Diwu Qingro's arrangement, and also his trump card. Chapter 248. I'm afraid this will be difficult. Gu Duxing said awkwardly, since Diwu Qingru has decided to go all out, Diwu Qingru has asked all the aristocratic families to stay there. With our current disguise, it's impossible to get in. Unless I reveal my true identity. That won't do. Chu Yang rejected directly, I'm afraid your appearance will arouse suspicion. Diwu Qingro had his suspicions. Moreover, your 2 brothers can't wait for you to appear so that they can kill you. Why would you reveal your identity to them? Gu Duxing stared and said, then what should we do? If only Jun Lulu had come earlier. Chu Yang heaved a deep sigh and frowned. Let me think. I can let you in. A voice suddenly sounded, besides, there's definitely no one. Someone is suspicious. Gu Duxing tensed up and reached out to hold the sword hilt. Chu Yang's expression didn't change. He said, it's you? It's me. Following a muffled and unhappy voice, a man in green suddenly turned into smoke. He transformed his body and appeared in front of the 2. He stared and gritted his teeth. Little bastard, you set a good trap. How can you blame me? If you didn't become a thief, would you have stepped into my trap? Chu Yang rolled his eyes. He rolled his eyes and said, what solution do you have? Hurry up and say it. I'm in a situation where time is money. If there's anything we can talk about it later. The man in green was speechless. Why is this little guy not surprised at all? But he didn't know that Chu Yang's breakthrough just now was like a nirvana rebirth. Although he was very surprised by his sudden appearance. Since he couldn't stop it, he could only accept it. So Chu Yang chose to accept it at the first moment. What else could he do? But the process of his change of heart was a little too fast, so much so that the man in green couldn't accept it. If it wasn't for your young age, I wouldn't have thought that you had a breakthrough under such pressure just now. I'd appreciate it. I don't care about your trivial matter. The man in green glared, I can help you, but there's a condition. What condition? Chu Yang calmed down. When you're done, come back with me. The man in green thought, I can't find the purple crystal. Jade, no one will come down from the top. I might as well bring him back for a look. It also saved him the trouble of running back and forth. No problem at all. As long as I'm done here, whenever you want to go back, I'll go with you. Chu Yang squinted his eyes and smiled. Moreover, even if you take me away by force, I won't be able to escape. I can't resist, can I? You can't resist, but if you don't cooperate when the time comes and mislead us instead. The green-clothed man was halfway through his sentence when he swallowed the second half of his sentence. The second half of his sentence was, this is really bad. So it's settled then? The green-clothed man was very happy. It's a deal. Chu Yang nodded seriously. Well, as long as my side is busy. After that, I'll go back with you. But I didn't say anything about Great Zhao, did I? Then do you have the purple crystal jade pendant or not? The green-clothed man couldn't help but ask. Chu Yang widened his eyes. What? The green-clothed man was driven mad. You better pray that you're not. Otherwise you will live a very happy life. I'm very happy. After he finished speaking, he rushed out of the window with a whoosh. Heaven-Reaching Tower. It was already full. Although Heaven-Reaching Tower was not the tallest building in Continent City, it was the oldest. Moreover, it occupied the largest area. Not only was it an inn, it was also a gambling den. In other words, Heaven-Reaching Tower had all kinds of profiteering businesses that could quickly make money. This place was equivalent to a huge gold and silver exchange base. When the 3 clansmen arrived at Heaven-Reaching Tower, they could only occupy the guest rooms. Only half. The owner of heaven-reaching tower was said to be a mysterious person. He never flattered the rich and powerful, but the rich and powerful of Great Zhao did not dare to cause trouble at heaven-reaching tower. No matter how big the grudge was, as long as they entered heaven-reaching tower, they had to be honest. At heaven-reaching tower. In the tower, even if the enemy who killed your father was in front of you and had no power to resist, you still could not make a move. And once you made a move, the consequences would be unimaginable. There was once an 8th grade revered martial artist who killed his enemy at heaven-reaching tower. As a result, on the second day, this revered martial artist disappeared. Although he disappeared, heaven-reaching tower used its own method to let the people of Jianghu know what kind of treatment this revered martial artist received. It was said that the owner of heaven-reaching tower caught this revered martial artist and sentenced him to death. But this death sentence lasted for 3 months. From the beginning to the end of killing a person, there was no pause. Hand actually killed him for 3 months. What kind of cruelty was this? Just thinking about it was enough to make one's hair stand on end. No one could imagine, and no one dared to imagine, how this revered martial artist survived for 3 months. But everyone understood, this revered martial artist wanted to die from the very first day. But at that time, dying, to him, it had become an extremely extravagant hope and fantasy. It was said that the owner of heaven-reaching tower once said regretfully, "Sigh, it was only a revered martial artist. The quantity was not enough. If this time it was a king-level master, perhaps the effect would have been better." More. This sentence caused the majority of Jianghu people to keep quiet out of fear. The owner of heaven-reaching tower was surnamed Du. His name was also very ordinary, even very vulgar and funny. He was called Du Get Rich. But no one dared to laugh at him. Since the opening of heaven-reaching tower, this owner of heaven-reaching tower had lived in seclusion. Only the owner of heaven-reaching tower came out to greet Diwu Qingro for the first time. Out of consideration for this ambitious and ruthless character, he came out to greet him once and exchanged a few pleasantries. It could be said that in the entire lower 3 heavens, only Diwu Qingro had ever enjoyed such an honor. Therefore, although the men of the lower 3 heavens had king-level guards, this heaven-reaching tower and so on. Thus, dozens of king-level masters gathered, but no one dared to ask Do Get Rich to come out. Welcome. But today, early in the morning, heaven-reaching tower suddenly became busy. The top floor of heaven-reaching tower, which had always been empty, was suddenly filled with dozens of people to clean. Even the curtains and the carpet were all changed to snow white. As for the mattresses inside, they were all changed. Everything was changed. What was even more exaggerated was that even the walls had been repainted and were completely white. Dozens of experts rushed up. Going to the top floor, they carefully and cautiously used their precious energy to quickly dry the freshly painted walls. The furniture that could be replaced was replaced in an instant. A voice continuously shouted, "Faster! Faster! Hurry up! This guest likes white and clean. Faster! Little third, go guard the door. Set up guards at all 3 entrances. Pay attention. Once the master appears, report immediately." Time passed bit by bit and the renovation inside was almost done. It was almost done. No. The person who had been shouting all this time also rushed out while wiping his sweat. As he walked, he said, "Also, I will personally wait at the door." Yes. This scene puzzled all the men of the upper 3 heavens. However, everyone knew that this was not the case. But everyone knew that a big shot was coming. Otherwise, heaven-reaching tower would not have made such a big fuss. The fat man who just went down is the Lord of heaven-reaching tower, Do Get Rich. Mo Tianyun said. He stood next to the railing on the 3rd floor. His feminine eyes became serious. Behind him were 2 king-level masters from the Mo clan. Next to him stood a handsome young man. The young man was Luo clan's Grand Duke Luo Kuwu. Do Get Rich finally came out to greet someone. I wonder who he is greeting this time? Luo Kuwu said. He thought for a while and said, "Who in this world can make Do Get Rich so nervous? It's hard to say." Next to him, a young man in a green robe slowly walked over and continued Luo Kuwu's words. "Could it be Jun Shizhu? Is Zhu here?" No. Mo Tianyun raised the corner of his mouth. His eyes were hazy. "Gu Yinyang, you still don't speak like this. How could Jun Shizhu make such a big show of extravagance when she came here? Plus, this show is very obvious. It is obviously to welcome an outsider." Luo Kuwu's face darkened. The Gu clan and the Mo clan were allies. The Gu clan and the Luo clan were enemies. Mo Tianyun's words were clearly directed at him. Plus, Mo Tianyun was blaming him. Gu Yenyang should not have interrupted. Otherwise he would have had a good reason to ridicule Luo Kuwu. Because everyone knew that Luo Kuwu's unfinished words were directed at Gu Yenyang. The same thing, could it be? Jun Shizhu is here? Just quietly watch and you will know. What's the use of guessing now? Luo Kuwu snorted. He said, You Mo Tianyun also can't guess. What are you so arrogant for? In the past few days they could not use force at heaven-reaching tower. Thus they bickered with each other every day. Mo Tianyun was about to retort sarcastically when he heard a sudden silence outside. They're here. Everyone had the same thought. Under everyone's gaze from the entrance of heaven-reaching tower, a large bundle of snow-white carpet rolled out. Carpets, expensive carpets, were laid out on the muddy ground without any care, extending all the way out. It went on for several hundred feet. Mo Tianyun and the others who were quietly watching from upstairs, suddenly felt an inexplicable atmosphere. At the end of the long street, there was a sudden silence. Then 2 figures slowly walked out from the corner as if they were taking a stroll in the courtyard and walked towards them. As they walked over, the 2 of them were casually chatting about something. It was obvious that these 2 were already used to this kind of scene. These were 2 young men. 2 young men in clothes whiter than snow, untainted by even a speck of dust. In the cold wind, the sleeves of the 2 young men in white fluttered. Their expressions were tranquil as they strode forward. It was as if they came with the wind and could leave with the wind at any moment. Both of them were tall. Their faces were like jade. Their eyes were like stars. Their eyebrows were like swords flying into their temples. Their hair was as black as ink. Their hair was tied up with purple crystals. Their loose hair set off their snow-white clothes. Both of them. Their figures were slightly thin. They were of average height. When they walked together they were like a pair of jade trees. They came in the wind. Looking carefully, these 2 people's faces were similar. They should be brothers. Moreover, the temperament of these 2 people was similar. They were both arrogant and sharp. 2 of them. They did not put on any airs of superiority, but in everyone's eyes, these 2 young men were innate talents. However, he was simply born to be a noble. This kind of temperament was enough to surpass anyone in the world. Go. Thank you everyone for your monthly votes. Thank you very much. I was worried that everyone would be unhappy with the reading. So, as long as it was not absolutely necessary, usually the interval between each other wasn't long. After all, everyone likes to read in one go. I was like this. Let's put ourselves in others' shoes. I don't want everyone to wait too long. I will do my best. Yeah, I'll do the best I can. Chapter 249. The one on the left was slightly older and his aura was even colder and sharper. He had a long sword hanging from his waist, but it did not give off a cumbersome feeling. It was as if the sword and the scabbard had become one with this young man's body. It was like heaven itself. The one on the right was slightly younger, but his expression was indifferent. His eyes were calm as if he did not care about the world, but there was also an awe-inspiring aura coming from his body. The ancient scabbard was slanted on his back, and only the sword hilt could be seen from his shoulder. And that sword tassel was actually white as well. The 2 of them walked out of the mud, dressed in white, and stepped on the white carpet without any hesitation. 2 lines of muddy footprints were left behind them. They walked forward for more than 10 feet, and then they suddenly stopped on the white carpet. The 2 of them slightly raised their heads at the same time and looked at the ancient heaven-reaching tower with faraway eyes. Du Fa Kai ran forward with his big belly. He respectfully bowed with his hands on his thighs and did a 10-degree bow. For his fat belly, this was definitely a difficult movement. What was even more surprising was that he was able to complete it without any hesitation. Grand Duke Chu, 2 Grand Dukes please? Please. Du Fa Kai had a flattering smile on his face. At this moment, if he had a tail it would be wagging like a windmill. Big brother, this heaven-reaching tower has prepared quite well. The younger Grand Duke had a gentle smile on his face. He looked at the white carpet under his feet and said with a worried expression, "It's okay." The older Grand Duke nodded and said, "The feeling of stepping on it is barely satisfactory." Du Fa Kai's eyebrows twitched and he wryly smiled in his heart. This priceless snow raccoon fur carpet was placed on the mud to welcome them, and this Grand Duke only said, "The feeling of stepping on it is very satisfactory. Sirs, the restaurant has prepared the best guest rooms and everything inside is brand new. Please come in and rest. It's freezing outside, ha." Du Fa Kai's fat jiggled face revealed a sincere smile. "It is only a cold." Very well, lead the way." The older Grand Duke walked forward with his hands behind his back. His white robes fluttered in the wind, and his feet did not seem to touch the ground. When he arrived at the door, 2 rows of sturdy men bowed at the same time. "Welcome, Duke." The 2 young men nodded gracefully at the same time, revealing a kind smile. When facing these lowly servants, their expressions were far more cordial than when facing the nobles. Under their spring breeze-like smiles, the 2 rows of men felt something extra in their hands. When they looked down, it turned out that each of them had 2 banknotes in their hands. The denomination of each note was 500 taels of silver. There were 2, not 1. This subtle action made these men fall in love with these 2 young men from the bottom of their hearts at the first moment. 1 banknote was a casual reward, but 2 banknotes were worth 500 taels of silver. It was a sign of respect, and at the same time, it contained a kind of blessing. Everyone was given 2 pieces of 500 taels, which meant that the 2 dukes had never forgotten about these lowly people from the very beginning. This had become a long-standing habit of theirs. The more he had such a habit, the easier it was for him to gain the respect and love of others. It came from the bottom of his heart. This was what it meant to be a natural aristocrat. Du Fa Kai attentively accompanied them. He was afraid of being careless, so he did not straighten his back or raise his head. His face was like a bright chrysanthemum blooming from beginning to end. The 2 young men, accompanied by him, entered heaven-reaching tower. Mo Tianyun stood in front of the window with his hands behind his back. He frowned and muttered to himself, "Who are these 2? The sound of delicate footsteps echoed in the corridor. The 2 honorable guests had already reached the 5th floor. He faintly heard the young man say with a smile, "Boss Du, we have troubled you. It must have been difficult for you to think of everything so thoroughly." Then came Du Fa Kai's voice. It was obvious that he was grinning from ear to ear. "Not at all. If Duke is satisfied, then this little one can rest assured." "Huh?" Mo Tianyun raised his eyebrows. "Duke little one." With Du Fa Kai's status, he actually called himself Little One in front of these 2 people? Mo Tianyun walked out of the door and slowly came to the small hall on the 4th floor. He knew that at this moment, the young men must be here. He went in to take a look. Sure enough, no matter if they were from opposing clans or allied clans, this year's young men were all sitting at a table and talking loudly. Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu sat at a table. Luo Kuwu and Lu Sui Feng sat at a table. Dong clan's Dong Wu Lei sat at a table. As for the young man lying on the table like a pile of mud, he was the eldest young master of the Ji clan Jiju. Every time he saw this Jiju, Mo Tianyun felt as if he had eaten a fly. This guy was his younger cousin, only 3 months younger than him. God knows how lazy this guy could be. Jiju had once created a record. When everyone was training at Songlan battlefront, this Grand Duke Ji's attendant was seriously injured and had to rest for 3 months. And he did not bring any maids. The result was that Grand Duke Ji's clothes were not washed for 3 months. Every day he would change into a new set of underwear and throw it at the head of the bed. As a result, when Mo Tianyun went to look for him, he found Grand Duke Ji naked on the bed, frowning as he looked for clothes to wear. And the way he looked for clothes was also unique. There were worn and unwashed clothes everywhere. This Grand Duke Ji would pull one over and smell it. Then he would pull another over and smell it. Comparing back and forth, it turned out that he was looking for the one with the least smell. Seeing this, Mo Tianyun collapsed on the spot. From then on, he did not like this younger cousin anymore. He swore to the heavens that he would never associate with Jiju again. And there were so many words. Jiju would remember them. He also had a younger brother named GMO. Yes, GMO Miao Mo Tianyun sometimes thought, what kind of dog fart name is this? In the small hall, more than a dozen tables were already filled. Mo Tianyun walked in. Immediately, 2 experts of the Mo clan stood up and gave him a seat. Bei Kuwu was shouting, "Who dares to bet with me? Let's bet on the identity of these 2 young men. I bet 10,000 silver taels." Gu Yenyang sneered, 10,000 silver taels? Do you think I'm a beggar? Jiju lazily laid on his stomach and raised his hand, "I bet. If I lose, I won't bathe for a month." Luo Kuwu disdainfully said, "Isn't that your Leduo? You only do this if you lose? Aren't you too shameless?" Immediately, the hall burst into laughter. Mo Tianyun looked at these people with a gentle smile. For many of them, this was the first time they had met each other. Moreover, they could not tell friend from foe. These people had never sat in the same hall like today. Moreover, they did not fight until the sky was turned upside down. This kind of strange phenomenon was rarely seen in upper 3 heavens. Everyone had a strange feeling in their hearts. Other than Dong Wu Lei and Jiju, who maintained their true colors, the others were more or less reserved. What do you bet? Mo Tianyun tilted his head and looked at Luo Kuwu. I bet that they are from a clan of upper three heavens. Even if they are not from a great clan, they must be from a great clan. Luo Kuwu loudly said. You speak as if you are farting. Mo Tianyun disdainfully said, everyone is not blind. Everyone can see that. Why would I bet with you? Isn't this just swindling money? Luo Kuwu's purple face turned red. He became angry and said, what do you care? Boring. Mo Tianyun coldly snorted. Suddenly an unpleasant smell filled the air. Everyone's face turned strange as they held their breaths. Immediately after, Gu Yenyang angrily shouted, bastard! Put on your shoes. Everyone looked towards the direction of the voice. They did not know whether to laugh or cry. It turned out that Jianghu had taken off his shoes and was scratching his feet with a pair of chopsticks. That rotting smell came from his feet. Who knew how many days it had been since he last washed his feet? Gu Yenyang's table was next to his, so he was even more affected. I'm scratching my feet. What does it have to do with you? Jianghu scratched as if there was no one around. This was not the behavior of a great clan's duke. He was more like a lowly hoodlum. After scratching for a while, he actually lifted the chopstick and sniffed it. He sighed, the smell is even stronger. Everyone felt suffocated as their stomachs churned. Dongwu Lei quietly stood up and threw himself at Jianghu. He grabbed Jiju's neck and punched him. This young master did not say a word but was the first to make a move. Jianghu screamed and fought back with all his might. All the dukes gathered in a circle. Everyone held their breaths and waved their hands as they cheered. The atmosphere was very lively. Banging sounds could be heard. All right. Mo Tianyun frowned and said, Jianghu, what are you doing? In front of so many people, do you still want face? If it wasn't for second brother suddenly running away, do you think I would want to be with you? Jianghu groaned as he got up. He rolled his eyes and slowly put on his shoes. I also don't want to, but, what do I do? Alright, let's talk about the two people who just came. Mo Tianyun frowned and said, some of our clans don't know each other. Some of them are from different parts of the world. Some of them are enemies. However, I want to remind everyone that we are here for a trial. And the goal of this trial is to defeat the Sword Master. When the three words Calamity Sword were mentioned, everyone quieted down. The two people just now had a noble temperament. They were obviously from big clans. Moreover, from their auras we can see that they are young swordsmen. Although we can't see their cultivation, but swordsmen at such a young age, even in the big clans of the three heavens we don't have them. At such a sensitive time, two people like this suddenly appeared. Mo Tianyun's words had already led everyone's thoughts. If you say that this has nothing to do with the birth of the Calamity Sword, I will never believe it. However, since they have something to do with Calamity Sword's master, they are our competitors. And they are strong competitors. Even the enemy clans could not deny Mo Tianyun's words. So, everyone don't let your guard down. Mo Tianyun said seriously, I am here to remind everyone. Mo Tianyun did not know why, but when the two youths appeared, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. It was as if he had a feeling that these two youths would be his mortal enemies. This feeling did not make sense, but it was real. Moreover, Mo Tianyun felt that the danger this time was even greater than the pressure he felt from his younger brother Mo Tianji. Mo Tianyun always believed in his own feelings. Therefore, the first thing Mo Tianyun did was to use the matter of Calamity Sword to form an alliance with everyone present in this short period of time. To unite against a common enemy. Just in case. Even if it was a divided alliance, they were still the descendants of the big clans. Even if they did not speak or do anything, just standing together was a strong deterrent. Even if Mo Tianyun did not say it, everyone was aware of this. These people were all the elites of the big clans. Some were pretending to be crazy and some were foppish on the surface. But who was really stupid? Even though Jianghu was sloppy by nature, no one, including Mo Tianyun, dared to look down on him. Mo Tianyun, do these two people have a grudge against you? Someone asked casually. This question was obviously thoughtful. That shouldn't be the case. These two people make people want to befriend them. This kind of innate temperament has not changed. If they were from upper three heavens, I would know them. Lower three heavens should not have such people. The only possibility is that they are from upper three heavens. But if they are from upper three heavens, why are you so nervous? The one who spoke was a young man who occupied the most central table. He was dressed in white and had sharp eyebrows. His eyes flashed with an evil light. This made his temperament seem to change at any time. One moment he was evil, the next he was feminine, and the next he was violent. In short, anyone who saw him would feel that this guy was a bit evil. Mo Tianyun's heart tightened, but his expression did not change. He smiled and said, "Brother Ao, this person has no grudge against me. Why would he have a grudge against me?" Brother Ao's words are a bit strange. I just want to remind everyone, why does Brother Ao always measure the stature of a gentleman with the yardstick of a villain? This person was the person Mo Tianyun feared the most among the younger generation of the big clans in Upper Three Heavens. Even Mo Tianji and Dong Wu Lei were not as important as this person in Mo Tianyun's heart. Wuxia Ao Yun. Wuxia was a well-deserved leader among the younger generation of the big clans in Upper Three Heavens. In all the big clans, some people hated him to the core and wanted to kill him. Some people were jealous of him and wanted to replace him. There were also people who stayed away from him. But no one refused to accept his position. This guy really had the ability. Even Mo Tianyun and Mo Tianji were being suppressed by Ao Yun at this moment. Chapter 250. Once Ao Yun's words were spoken, the entire hall became silent. Ji Zhuxin secretly turned around. Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu's eyes shot out a sharp look at the same time. The few elders who were on good terms with Ao Yun also revealed a serious expression. Ao Yun's words were very serious. Moreover, ever since he came down, Mo Tianyun had been looking for an opportunity to compete with Ao Yun. Right now, everyone was gathered together. It was obvious that Ao Yun was suppressing Mo Tianyun. Moreover, he was using the weakness of his personality. Everyone was a little nervous. If the two great clans were to really pull apart their factions today, then all the great clans would suddenly have to choose a side. Other than a few people who did not need to care, everyone else would have to make a choice. This was very sudden. Moreover, Ao Yun had the upper hand in terms of morality. So, Mo Tianyun had fallen into an absolute disadvantage as soon as these words came out. Mo Tianyun stared at Ao Yun and did not speak for a long time. The atmosphere seemed to have frozen. After a while, Mo Tianyun suddenly smiled and said, "Brother Ao, these words should not come out of your mouth." "Is that so?" Ao Yun did not look at him. He only lowered his head and deftly turned a small white porcelain teacup in his hand. The teacup was full of tea. As he turned it, the tea fragrance spread everywhere. Even with the mouth of the cup facing down, not a single drop of tea leaked out. "You and I are both descendants of great clans." Mo Tianyun let out a long sigh. His feminine eyes became sharp and sinister. There was also an inexplicable pressure. Brother Ao should also understand what our great clans rely on to establish themselves in the three heavens. Haha, is it relying on brothers to kill each other? Or is it despicable? Ao Yun's eyes flashed wickedly as he mocked. Both. But it's not complete. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Mo Tianyun nodded and admitted it. With his admission, even Ao Yun stopped turning the teacup and slowly raised his head to look at him. The rise of every great clan is a tragedy. Mo Tianyun slowly sat down and sat across from Ao Yun. He quietly stared at him and said, "If it is not your own tragedy, then it is the tragedy of your enemy." "That's right," Ao Yun said solemnly. "As for us, we are the rising stars of the three heavens, and also the leaders of the next generation of the three heavens. Everyone plays an important role in their respective clans. Brother Ao shouldn't deny this," Mo Tianyun slowly said. "Go on." Ao Yun's voice was somewhat gloomy. "However, to put it bluntly, why do we have such a status?" Mo Tianyun said in a low voice, "Don't talk about talent and don't talk about how we have worked hard. These are all official words. At the end of the day, the reason we have our current status is because we have a huge family behind us. Among us, the one with the highest cultivation is only a low-grade martial saint." Mo Tianyun sneered, "With this kind of cultivation, any random king-level master in the three heavens could kill us. And this kind of cultivation is something that the clan has spent countless resources and spirit herbs to achieve. What is there to be proud of? If we were born in an ordinary family, so what if we have such talent? We would only be mediocre." Mo Tianyun said, "Brothers, please don't blame me for being rude. In my opinion, all of us, including me, Brother Ao, Brother Dong and the others, are the same. As long as we lose our clans, we are nothing. We are not even worth shit." Everyone was silent and did not speak. Ao Yun's eyes flickered slightly, but he did not refute. This was the truth. If he refuted it, he would appear narrow-minded. Because of the colossal Ao clan, the evil duke was born. Because of the Mo clan's outstanding strength, there is me Mo Tianyun. Mo Tianyun said firmly, our first priority is to protect the interests of our clans. Only by protecting our clans can we protect ourselves. This is the clan of the three heavens. Mo Tianyun raised his head and said solemnly, the root of a clan's decline is not external enemies but internal strife. The struggle for power between brothers is the most alarming source of chaos. At this point, everyone finally understood what he was trying to say by beating around the bush. They could not help but admire him. The reason why he had taken such a big detour to counterattack Ao Shiyun was firstly to gain everyone's contemplation and approval. Secondly, he wanted to use these words to take advantage of the situation and suppress Ao Shiyun's imposing manner, which was currently standing at the highest point of Tao and virtue. Especially since what he was saying now were all words of wisdom. Even if Ao Shiyun wanted to refute it, he could not. The Ao clan's Xieyun's position is stable. The Ji clan's Jizhu and Mo brothers have no power, so they live in peace. Although the Luo clan and Mo clan are enemies, the two brothers are very close. Needless to say, the Dong clan is even more so. These few clans can be said to be safe for hundreds of years as long as no accidents happen. Mo Tianyun changed the topic and talked about the great clans of the three heavens. Everyone listened attentively. When Mo Tianyun talked about the descendants of the great clans, he only talked about the two brothers. This was because everyone knew that in every clan the Grand Duke and the Second Duke had the most power. The rest were not worth worrying about. The only people who could replace the Grand Duke were the Second Duke. This was an irrefutable theory. But the other clans all have such internal problems. And the most pressing one is my Mo clan. Mo Tianyun smiled bitterly and said, as everyone knows, I have a talented younger brother. My younger brother Mo Tianji's talent is definitely not below mine. Moreover, he is definitely not below anyone here. I, Mo Tianyun, am not bragging about my younger brother. Everyone should be clear about this point. When he talked about Mo Tianji's ability, even Luo Kuwu, the Grand Duke of the enemy clan, nodded deeply. He had suffered losses from Mo Tianji many times. How could he not know how powerful Mo Tianji was? If my younger brother could be content with the status quo and just be satisfied with his position as the Second Duke, and work together with me, Ao Shiyun, even you, would not be in our eyes. Mo Tianyun's voice was a little heavy. Ao Shiyun carefully compared Mo Tianji and Mo Tianyun in his heart. After a long time he sighed softly and said, that's right. If the two of you worked together, even if I could protect myself, I would still be slightly inferior and would not be a match for you. However, the two of you are not of the same mind and each of you has a death feud. Fortunately, the two of you are not of the same mind. That's right. I, Mo Tianyun, am not willing to be under anyone. Moreover, for many years I have been the only one in the Mo clan. The entire clan has long recognized my position. Mo Tianyun smiled bitterly, but at this time, a genius younger brother appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, he is very ambitious. His schemes are deep and his ambitions are higher than the sky. Ao Shiyun, if it were you, would you give up your current position? Mo Tianyun asked coldly. Ao Shiyun was silent. After a long time he slowly said, no. That's right. You can't. I can't. Because my desire for power is even more important than yours. This is my biggest weakness. Mo Tianyun laughed self-deprecatingly. If the Mo clan only had me, the Mo clan could continue to be strong and would not be afraid of any of your clans. Mo Tianyun said softly and disappointedly, if it was only my younger brother Mo Tianji, he would not be inferior to any of you. The two of us have the ability to make the clan stronger. We are very confident about this. You should not deny it. Everyone was deep in thought and nodded. The two brothers, Mo Tianyun and Mo Tianji, were both outstanding talents of their generation. They could be said to be extremely powerful. If Tianji and I belonged to two different clans, even if we were mortal enemies, we could continue to develop our clans and become stronger. Or we could even appreciate each other and become close friends. However, the most tragic thing is that my genius younger brother and I exist in the same clan at the same time. The more tragic thing is that a clan can only have one person in charge. Mo Tianyun laughed coldly, but my brother and I both have the potential to control the clan. Since a long time ago, I knew that Tianji's talent was not inferior to mine. His ambition was also not inferior to mine. Mo Tianyun said quietly, at that time, Ao Shiyun, if it were you, what would you do? Ao Shiyun sighed. His eyes that were filled with evil slowly closed. After thinking for a while, he said slowly, If it was in the budding stage, I would have used a thunderous method to suppress this genius. But a genius will not be suppressed. The more you suppress him, the greater the rebound. Mo Tianyun laughed softly. Yes, at that time I was the same as you. Suppress, suppress, and suppress again. Because I realized that the clan was in danger. If he was allowed to grow, the Mo clan would eventually become a struggle between two great powers. In that case, once Mo Tianji's wings were fully grown, neither of us brothers would let go. The Mo clan would be finished. It would definitely be destroyed by the struggle between us two brothers. Even if one of us won in the end, it would be a Pyrrhic victory. The clan's strength would be greatly reduced. The kinship in the clan would also be gone. But my suppression could not suppress him. Mo Tianyun smiled bitterly. Suppression time after time, resistance time after time, it developed to the current situation. But just when I was about to use a gentle method, another genius appeared in our family. My younger sister, Mo Qingwu. Mo Tianji smiled bitterly. The relationship between these two geniuses is so good that they are like one person. My younger sister's appearance divided the clan's power into three. If my younger sister grows up, she will definitely merge with her second brother's strength. In that case, the Mo clan would be finished. But how can I be willing to let my clan be finished like this? Mo Tianyun said, and I can't let go. So, there will definitely be a fierce struggle. Mo Tianji finally finished this big circle. He calmly said, Aosia Yun, you scolded me just now. You said that I even wanted to kill my own younger brother. I even wanted to harm my own younger sister. Am I still a ruler? I'm not a ruler. Mo Tianyun said quietly, but if I wanted to kill the two of them, I could have silently killed them 10,000 times over these years. Chapter 251. Now that Tianji has grown to the point where even I have to be wary of him, it's very difficult to kill him. But I believe none of you will deny that I can kill him 10,000 times. Mo Tianyun said solemnly, I have this ability. My feelings are conflicted. I think all of you can understand. Mo Tianyun may not be a good person or a ruler, but I'm definitely not as despicable as Brother Ao makes me out to be. I'm suppressing my younger brother and sister. There's nothing I don't dare to admit about this. Mo Tianyun's sharp gaze swept across everyone's faces. Suddenly he asked solemnly, but all the Grand Dukes here, who hasn't suppressed their competitors before? Have you? Facing his gaze, everyone's face was a little hot. Mo Tianji and Mo Qingwu were ambushed by the He Mo clan in the lower three heavens. Many people guessed that this matter must have something to do with Mo Tianyun. Because of this, their impression of Mo Tianyun was very bad. A person who could even harm his own younger brother and sister, how could he be trusted? But today, everyone suddenly felt that they were the same as Mo Tianyun. For the clan, for their dreams, to not be eliminated, they were also suppressing the young people of their own clans. And those people were also related to them by blood. They were also their own brothers and sisters. While they were mocking Mo Tianyun, they were doing the same thing as him. Wasn't this a very funny thing? Mo Tianyun, you're very eloquent. Ao Shiyun chuckled softly, what you've said is also correct. Furthermore, I also agree with it. For the sake of the clan's survival, it's okay to go against one's conscience once in a while. We can all accept it. Your words have successfully built up your image in the eyes of the public. A man who dares to admit and bear the responsibility even though he has a stain is not bad. Ao Xieyun's evil eyes revealed a hint of mockery. If I wasn't here today, perhaps your words would have helped you gain many allies. But unfortunately, I'm still here today. Ao Xieyun smiled faintly and said, what you said is the truth. Some of it is also from your heart. No, we've all suppressed them before, but there's one thing that's different from you. Ao Shiyun said quietly, before my brothers come of age and deal with me, I will never suppress them. But you are different, your sister is only 10 and she is a girl. Your younger brother is fighting for power with you, but Mo Tianji is different from you. He is fighting for power with you, but once it involves the interests of the clan he will step back. However, you can harm the interests of the clan in order to fight for power. You can kill him before he matures, but don't forget that he didn't do anything to you at that time. Ao Shiyun said slowly, but you're guarding against him at all times. It's because you're guarding against him that he developed a desire for power. Because he can't get anything at all, including what he deserves. Aristocratic families are all the same. Therefore this is the world. You don't have to explain anything. This is not your right. Even if we suppress them, we won't put them to death. Ao Shiyun said, but you guys are fighting to the death. And this competition was forced by you. This is the biggest difference between us and you. Mo Tianyun's face turned green and white. Ao Shiyun's words touched the pain in his heart. At this moment he was powerless to explain anything. He gritted his teeth and said, everyone is in such a clan and has their own understanding. Who doesn't have difficulties? Who doesn't have feelings? Who doesn't have helplessness? Who doesn't have desire? There's no point in arguing about these things now. Yes, you don't have righteousness, but your paranoia makes people uncomfortable. Ao Shiyun sneered and said, just like today, you shouldn't have suggested to deal with those two youngsters, but you did. So what? Mo Tianyun snorted. This doesn't match with your feminine personality. Ao Shiyun's eyes flashed evilly and said, usually when you encounter such situations you'll wait for an opportunity to make a move. You won't take the lead. You're used to taking advantage of others when both sides are injured. Moreover, you'll take the title of being a righteous person. Ao Shiyun said bluntly, a dog can't change its habit. You won't jump out. But you're the first to stand out. Although what you said is reasonable, it also proves that you have enmity towards those two. And such people are always the ones you try to rope in or curry favor with. You won't take the initiative to provoke them or offend them. So, these two people must have enmity towards you. That's why you felt it. Ao Shiyun slowly raised his head. His evil eyes looked at Mo Tianyun's face. He laughed mockingly, and you, Mo Tianyun, won't let go of any danger. Even if it's just a groundless feeling. So, the purpose of your words is to let us be your shield. You're striking first to gain the upper hand. Ao Shiyun said, this is your paranoia. But why are you so paranoid today? Mo Tianyun, are you just paranoid? Mo Tianyun's face turned pale. He shouted, Ao Shiyun, what do you mean? Nothing. Ao Shiyun said indifferently, everyone knows that those two people are from upper three heavens. Once everyone is provoked by you to go against them, then, won't they take revenge? If they want to take revenge, how will they take revenge? When he said this, the faces of many men changed. Will they beat the big clans until they can't recover from the setback? Or will they be directly suppressed? Ao Shiyun said indifferently, if that's the case, most of the clans in upper three heavens will gradually decline. Mo Tianyun, do you want to dominate upper three heavens? Mo Tianyun's face turned pale, you're talking nonsense. But the way everyone looked at him had already changed. After Ao Shiyun said this, everyone immediately realized that this was something very likely to happen. Some people always like to use the heart of a villain to speculate about some things. But the sad thing is that this has become the main theme of this world. Mo Tianyun said coldly, so in this world the honest people will have their bones piled up like mountains. The despicable and shameless people will have glory and wealth. He sneered and shook his head, boring? In this battle of words, Mo Tianyun lost. He had used his sense of crisis to rally everyone to stand on the same side as him so that they could deal with the huge crisis that might arise. However, Ao Shiyun had also used his sense of crisis to shatter his lies and push him to a deeper level. So Mo Tianji could only let out such a sigh in the end and use profound philosophy to defend himself for the last time. Everyone knows how to reason. What is said by a ruler is reason. But what is said by a villain is also reason. Ao Shiyun said indifferently, reason is reason. There is no difference. Well said. A voice agreed. Soft clapping was heard. Two people in snow-white clothes walked in. The hall was silent. Everyone looked at these two young men with different expressions. Under everyone's gaze, Chu Yang and Gu Duxing walked into this small hall at the same time. Their current appearances were all carefully disguised by Chu Yang. They were completely different from their original appearances. Even their skin color, face shape, eye shape and the position of their facial features were completely different. Now, the two of them were complete strangers who had appeared in this world. Walking into this circle this time, although Chu Yang and Gu Duxing tried their best to control themselves, their hearts were not calm. From Gu Duxing's point of view, they were all familiar faces. He knew most of the men here. But from Chu Yang's point of view, it was different. There were also many familiar faces. Chu Yang sighed in his heart. Except for a few people, almost everyone here was here. Dozens of years later, it was these people who stirred up the entire three heavens. Even upper three heavens was shaken. Black Demon, Dark Bamboo, Lone Guest, Poison Spirit, Tianji, Li Xiong Tuesday Black Saber, Qianhao Duxia Mengluo Qianghua Tianrui. Sitting in the middle was a young man with a calm but sharp expression. He was Duxia Ao Shiyun, one of the 12 absolutes. Lone Guest, Gu Duxing was beside him. Black Saber was using Ask the Heavens sword to stir up trouble. The one standing in the corner was Tu Clan's Grand Duke, Tu Qianhao. And the one sitting behind Ao Shiyun was a young man with a curly beard. He was Li Xiong too. The Black Devil and the Dark Bamboo weren't here. Chu Yang didn't know who the poison spirit was. Mo Tianji wasn't here. The viburnum flower in the dream was the viburnum flower in the heavens. He was smiling shyly and had a shy expression on his face. Later, everyone thought that viburnum flower was a woman. However, Chu Yang knew that this famous viburnum flower was the great duke of the Xia clan, Xia Dan Qiong. His famous hidden weapon was Qiong Hua. Meng Luo and Tian Rui were not here. But even so, lone guest Li Xiong Tu Qianhao, Duke Xia Qiong Hua and Xia Dan Qiong were all gathered here. People. There was also someone who was not inferior to any of them. He was Mo clan's Grand Duke, Missouri Tianyun. Among these people, Jizhu was killed by Mo Tianyun's cousin in the end. Mo Tianyun died in the hands of Mo Tianji. As for Luo Kudi's elder brother, Luo Kuwu, he finally lost his life in the battle between the two clans under Mo Tianji's scheme. And the two Grand Dukes of Gu clan, Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu, were nowhere to be found. They had already disappeared from the battle. Now Black Devil and Dark Bamboo had risen. The remaining 10 people were also beginning to show their abilities. In the previous life it was your world. But in this life there is me. Chu Yang quietly said in his heart. Everyone, this is the first time we meet. Greetings. Chu Yang elegantly cupped his fists. He had a gentle smile on his face, but it was filled with a kind of noble reserve. It did not make people feel disgusted. This Grand Duke is? Ao Shiyun's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. May I ask for your name? My surname is Chu. Chu Yang's voice was clear. This is my big brother. He does not like to talk. So it is Grand Duke Chu. Ao Shiyun's heart trembled. Surname Chu? Chu clan of Upper Three Heavens? Although Chu clan was not listed as one of the great clans of Upper Three Heavens, it was still a super clan. Chapter 252. I don't dare. I am Ping Chu Fei. This is my big brother Chu Nan. Chu Yang smiled warmly. Gu Du Xing, this Chu Nan, immediately glared at him and shouted, "Shut up." However, Ao Shiyun and the others were already smiling. Chu Nan? Virgin? This name is really meaningful and makes people daydream. Dare I ask for the names of all of you? Chu Yang smiled shyly and said with the innocence of a young man, we brothers like to make friends the most. I am Mo Tianyun. Mo Tianyun smiled. From his expression, no one could tell that he had just encouraged everyone to deal with these two people. However, he had actually said it himself. I am ashamed to say this. I was worried about the pros and cons of your arrival. Now that you have appeared, I feel as if I have been a villain in vain. Chu Yang smiled and looked at him with appreciation. Elder Mo is really frank. I like this kind of person. Mo Tianyun smiled in a feminine manner. His expression showed that he was speaking from the bottom of his heart. He said, being in Jianghu, there are some things that I need to think about. Over time, I have developed such a bad habit. Elder Chu, please don't laugh at me. Of course not. Chu Yang said sincerely, my father has taught me countless times that caution is the way to survive in Jianghu. Brother Mo is not only cautious but also honest. You are really a good friend that is hard to come by. Mo Tianyun, Ao Xie and the others were stunned. No one was sure how long this Elder Chu had been eavesdropping outside. But one thing was certain. He definitely heard at least once. Even if he didn't hear the whole thing, he should have heard the end of it. In any case, he shouldn't be so intimate with Mo Tianyun. What was going on? This Elder Chu didn't know right from wrong. I am Ao Xie. I am Luo Kuwu. Remember, I am Jizhu. Jizhu's self-introduction made Tu Qianhao, who had been standing in the corner with a sullen face, laugh. This kind of clown was indeed the only one in Santianyun. The corner of Chu Yang's mouth twitched. He thought in his heart, fortunately Ji Mo's little hand didn't come. Otherwise, it would have been difficult to distinguish between these two brothers. After a round of introductions, the atmosphere in the hall became lively. Along the way, this city is really lively. Chu Yang smiled reservedly. Every movement of his showed the demeanor of a well-educated disciple of a great aristocratic family. I heard that the people here are fighting for the martial Saint Sword? Saber Saint Saber? These are all rumors spread by ordinary people. They are not to be believed. Mo Tianyun smiled. Duke Chu came down from Upper Three Heavens. You should know that thousands of years ago, There was no Ask the Heavens Martial Saint or Underworld Saber Saint on this continent. This kind of lie can only fool those who don't know. As for us, we're just watching the show and laughing. Mo Tianyun spoke very appropriately. Just a moment ago, the awkwardness from Ao Xian's mocking of him to the point of being speechless actually disappeared. His eyes and expression were normal. Oh, is it fake? Chu Yang smiled slightly. Then he changed the topic and started chatting with everyone. This time he came down with the title of Duke of a great aristocratic family of Upper Three Heavens. Naturally, everyone had some misgivings and would not offend him. However, there was no intimacy between their words. Other than Mo Tianyun, who tried to cover up and said a few more words, only the two brothers, Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu, still flattered these two Duke of the Chu clan. Regarding this, Gu Duxing felt a little uncomfortable. When he was in the clan, these two brothers had always disliked him. When they had time, they would prank him and even want to kill him. Immortal, in front of so many people, can you have a little integrity? As for the others, they were neither too close nor too distant. Their sense of propriety was just right. As for Dong Wu Lei, Xie Danxiong, Tu Qian Hao and the others, after introducing themselves, they did not say anything else. They just sat there and quietly drank their tea. Li Xiongtu's voice was the loudest. He and Luo Kuwu huddled together and argued to death. Jizhu was lying on the table, pretending to be dead. His body was still as boneless as before. However, Chu Yang Tongsai's sudden change of topic caught the attention of all the dukes. The thinking of geniuses was like this. If you like to say something, I don't like to hear it. But if you deliberately want to hide something, I am very interested in it. Moreover, everyone knew what Chu Yang's identity represented. This meant that he had more information than everyone else. Why did he change the topic? Could it be that there was something fishy about this? Duchu. Did the two brothers come alone? Ao Xieyun's eyes flashed wickedly as he asked. This? Chu Yang's eyes flashed and he said, no. Ao Xieyun smiled knowingly and said, no matter what you do, having someone follow you around is indeed not a good feeling. Ah. That's right. Chu Yang acted as if he had found a soulmate. Brother Ao is really understanding. After joking around for a while, Chu Yang pulled up Gu Duxing, who was surrounded by Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu. He said goodbye to everyone and returned to his room. Before he left, his face flashed with a hint of joy. Ao Xieyun waved his hand and the two experts of the Ao clan stood at the door. What do you think? Ao Xieyun asked. He looked down on Mo Tianyun and was Mo Tianyun's enemy. But at this moment he wanted to discuss with Mo Tianyun. Because in this aspect, Mo Tianyun did have an advantage that others did not. These two people should have been guided here by Du Fa Kai. Mo Tianyun said seriously. That's right. Ao Xieyun agreed. The two of them clearly came here to test something. Mo Tianyun frowned. A little bit. They were very happy when they left. Mo Tianyun snorted. Not bad. After exchanging a few words, the two mortal enemies confirmed the suspicions in their hearts. Then they separated. Then Ao Xian stood up and walked out. Mo Tianyun also took the bodyguards of the Mo clan and swaggered away. The two of them used each other as tools to confirm their suspicions. Once they finished using each other, they immediately went their separate ways. Xie Danxiong's face showed a hint of contemplation. Although he followed behind Ao Xieyun, he also left. In an instant, Jizhu, Luo Kuwu, Dong Wu Lei, Tu Gan Hao, Li Xiongtu and the others all left. Moreover, each of them had their own reasons. Tired, sleepy, hungry. Inside the small hall, only Gu Yenyang, his brother, and a few others were left. Suddenly it seemed very empty. However, these people were the ones who really didn't see anything. Just as Chu Yang said, some schemes could only be used against geniuses and wise people. Against ordinary people or even fools, they were completely useless. Then Gu Duxing's white robe fluttered as he left. After a while, Chu Yang also left Heaven-reaching Tower under everyone's watchful eyes. For 3 days the guards of the great clans did not make a move. Until the afternoon, when Chu Yang and Gu Duxing returned one after the other, no one made a move. As the sky slowly darkened, the guards of the great clans began to move out. One by one they left the inn and blended into the night. These people only had one goal, to investigate and confirm. Continent's capital was still bustling with activity. The number of outsiders was still increasing. Diwu Qingrou's Golden Horse Riders Department had already captured an unknown number of people. 3 days, those clans still have not made a move? Diwu Qingrou looked outside the window. Outside his window, there were several slender and elegant bamboos. Not much. Gao Xing smiled. Since they know that this is fake news, why would they make a move? It's just a few guards seeing the right time to go out and practice. But if we really let them participate in the fight, they would not agree. It's good that there is no movement. As long as these people do not participate, then we can control everything. Diwu Qingro slowly paced 2 steps. No? King of Hell Chu has not made a move yet. This is somewhat out of my expectations. Prime Minister, what do you mean? He went through untold hardships and traveled thousands of miles to cause trouble to create such a chaotic situation. But instead he was used by me. If it were you, what would you do? Diwu Qingro said. I would be aggrieved. Gao Xing told the truth. But King of Hell Chu has not made a move, and he has not stopped. I am adding fuel to the fire, but he does not seem to notice? This should not be the case. Diwu Qingro frowned, but what will his next step be? King of Hell Chu should not be at his wit's end, Diwu Qingro said to himself, but how will he attack my advantage? Prime Minister, our advantage is natural. Even if King of Hell Chu is extremely smart, this is Great Zhao, not Iron Cloud. Perhaps King of Hell Chu is also worried about Iron Cloud. Gao Xing comforted him. Otherwise, others might give up, but King of Hell Chu will never give up. Diwu Qingro said with certainty. Then he suddenly frowned and said, I heard that Heaven-Reaching Tower has 2 distinguished guests today. Moreover, Du Fa Kai personally came out to greet them with a very respectful attitude? Yes. According to the information, they should be 2 officials from the Chu clan of Upper 3 Heavens. Gao Xing replied. Chu clan? Chu. Diwu Qingro frowned. Chu. You tugged at the most sensitive chord in his heart. Prime Minister, are you suspecting King of Hell Chu? Gao Xing said with concern. So confusing. Diwu Qingro quietly pondered for a while, then he let out a deep breath. Chu family official? Chu family official. Even though there is no movement from the great clans, the focus right now is on Heaven-Reaching Tower. If Beyond the Heavens Tower is in chaos, then it will be real chaos. If they are really officials from Upper 3 Heavens, they are indeed distinguished guests. Diwu Qingro slowly said, if they are such distinguished guests, then tomorrow morning, I will personally go and pay them a visit. Prime Minister will personally go? Gao Xing was taken aback. If they are really officials from Upper 3 Heavens, then me going is not condescending. Chapter 253. This night, Continent City was still in chaos. However, Ask the Heaven Sword did not appear, nor did Underworld Saber. Even though they did not appear, the people of Jianghu did not stop fighting. Up until now, many descendants of Ask the Heaven Sword and Underworld Saber Saints' grandsons had died. However, what no one noticed was that on this night, there were suddenly many mysterious people with black masks on their faces. They came and went, but their martial arts had reached a frightening level. They came and went, vigilantly watching every corner of the city, waiting for Ask the Heaven Sword or Underworld Saber to appear. Tonight there were no clouds for thousands of miles. Even though the moon was not full, it was still bright in the sky. In a corner that no one knew about, on a night like this, Ask the Heaven Sword and Underworld Saber had secretly met. Under the moonlight, Dong Wuxiang, Luo Kadi GMO, and Yin Butong were quietly sitting on a branch of a big pine tree like 4 squirrels having a meeting. Have you really decided? Dong Wuxiang asked seriously. Yes. GMO nodded silently. Perhaps our own big clans will also get involved in this matter, Dong Wuxiang said without the slightest bit of emotion. So what? GMO's face did not have its usual frivolous expression. Instead, it was a bit serious. With the appearance of Calamity Sword, the 3 heavens are already facing a reshuffle. If the G clan is destined to decline in this storm, it is fine if it is a bit earlier. However, if the G clan can use this opportunity to advance, I will be very happy. GMO's face was serious. Suddenly, he revealed a smile that did not know whether to laugh or cry and said, Plus, in this trial, my dear brother is the leader. Cough cough, I suspect that even if this matter is confirmed, and we put the saber and sword in front of him, he won't even bat an eyelid. Luo Kadi and Yin Butong shrugged their shoulders. Dong Wuxiang almost burst out laughing as well. Unable to hold back his laughter, he said, You're right. That brother of yours is indeed the only weirdo in the history of the 3 heavens. I can only roll my eyes at such a compliment. GMO sighed. Although I know that you are speaking from the bottom of your heart, it is still somewhat unpleasant to hear. What I am most curious about is, Why did your Ji clan allow your elder brother to become a Grand Duke? What I am even more curious about is, your elder brother is so lazy, how did he manage to cultivate to such a level? I'm still wondering why, I'm still wondering. Luo Kadi furrowed his brows, beaming with joy, his expression serious as if he was discussing some academic issues. What you should be wondering is, why is your mouth like a cesspit? Even if you block the entrance you can't block the stench. GMO fiercely glared at him. Ji Butong laughed and fell down from the tree. He climbed up with difficulty and leaned against the tree trunk, laughing silently with a pained expression. Dong Wuxiang was helpless. It was simply impossible to discuss something with these guys in a serious manner. Don't worry, your Dong family is also fine. Your elder brother Dong Wulei is also a person with a sense of propriety. Moreover, as far as I know, your elder brother's strength is outstanding. So, you don't have to worry about anything, GMO comforted her. But my elder brother is not necessarily the same. Luo Kadi frowned and sighed. That bastard Luo Kawu looks very calm on the surface, but let me tell you, it is all a disguise. That guy's temper is so bad that you can't even think about it. Once he goes crazy it will be terrible. Don't we still have you? GMO looked at Luo Kadi with disdain. At the crucial moment, can't you remind us? Me? Remind? What if I ruin boss's plan? Won't you guys skin me alive? Luo Kadi cried out as if he had been wronged. Then you make your own decision. Dong Wuxiang said. But this time, Gu Du Xing's Gu clan is destined to suffer a great loss. Mo Tianyun used them as spears. Moreover, Gu Yinyang and Gu Yenyu are both very happy and narrow-minded. The two brothers are also vying for power. That is the Gu clan's matter. Naturally, second brother Gu will worry about it. We don't care about that. The other three said in unison. Besides, Gu Yinyang and Gu Yenyu have long been unhappy with them. If we just kill those two bastards, I think Gu Du Xing will be very happy. He won't even shed a tear. Actually, Gu Du Xing must be very eager to personally cut off those two dog heads. Since that is the case, then we have to prepare. GMO looked at the sky and said, when the moon is bright, the time has come. Dong Wuxiang nodded deeply. Luo Kadi suddenly thought of something. He suddenly hugged his stomach and laughed silently. Even tears came out of his eyes. What are you thinking about? Dong Wuxiang was very depressed. This guy was simply crazy. I'm thinking about the names of the two Dong brothers. Oh, my mother. Oh, whoa. Luo Kadi rubbed his stomach. Dong Wuxiang was very curious. What about our names? You and your brother Dong Wulei. Ha ha ha. Luo Kadi simply opened his mouth and laughed wildly. The three of them could clearly see Luo Kadi's tongue trembling and jumping in his mouth. What is it? GMO scratched his head. Listen. Dong Wulei animal type. Oh, whoa. Luo Kadi was overjoyed. As for Jiang Wuxiang, it is even more meaningful. Animal type. Damn Dong Wuxiang, you. Even an animal type is on you. Before he finished speaking, Dong Wuxiang, who could not bear it any longer, punched out. Luo Kadi's laughter came to an abrupt end. He fell from the tree with a face full of blooming peach blossoms. Dong Wuxiang turned around with a murderous look. He looked at GMO and Miao Badong, who were about to laugh. He gritted his teeth and asked, Isn't it very funny? Not funny, not funny. GMO shook his head like a rattledrum. What is Luo Kadi saying? I don't understand a word. Miao Badong hurriedly nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Yes, I don't understand a word. Humph. Dong Wuxiang gritted his teeth and shouted, Get lost. GMO and Yin Badong climbed down the tree with sweat all over their foreheads. They left in the darkness of the night. From afar they heard GMO's uncontrollable laughter. Animal type. This motherfucking second young master Luo is a genius. What a famous saying, Miao Budong's voice, ha! Dong Wuxiang clenched his fist and the sound of his joints cracking could be heard. But GMO and Miao Badong had already disappeared very quickly. Dong Wuxiang jumped down, grabbed Luo Kadi who was about to escape and gave him a beating. I was wrong. I was wrong, fourth brother, my dear fourth brother. I was really wrong, please be magnanimous. Ah, whoa, this is too funny. Luo Kadi cried out in pain and begged for mercy, but he could not help but laugh wildly. For a moment he could not tell whether it was pain or pleasure. His whole body was trembling and he could not tell whether it was from being beaten or laughing. This time, Dong Wuxiang mercilessly beat him to his heart's content. Every punch was heavy and every punch hit flesh. The bright moon gradually rose to the top of their heads. The moon that was missing a corner was still bright in the sky. Suddenly, from a certain place in the city, a round beam of light suddenly shot out. It seemed to be in the shape of a sun, reflecting the moonlight in the sky, shining brightly. This beam of light was not very thick, only the thickness of a fist, but it was very condensed. Especially in the middle of the night, it was even more eye-catching. In an instant, countless night walkers discovered this strange phenomenon at the same time. They could not help but raise their heads to the night sky, watching with rapt attention. In the next moment, the situation suddenly changed again. Another arc of light rose into the sky. It crossed with the cylindrical beam of light, and suddenly the sky shone brightly, as if a sun and two moons had appeared at the same time. One moon, one crescent moon. In the silent night sky, two screams came from two places at the same time. Then the two beams of light disappeared at the same time. Only a full moon was left in the sky. Complete silence. However, the strange scene just now was deeply imprinted in everyone's eyes. Most of them were astonished. What the hell is going on? At the same time, two white figures suddenly appeared. Under the combined moonlight, under the reflection of the white snow, these two snow-white figures were like immortals from the heavens, coming from the sky. When they arrived, the two people suddenly split into two directions without saying a word. Each of them had an extremely sharp fleeting sword chi, and rushed towards the direction where the two beams of light had appeared. Swordsmen. These two handsome young men were actually two swordsmen who had achieved great swordsmanship. The white figures flashed and disappeared instantly. Heaven and earth returned to silence. At the same time, dozens of faster black figures also rose and chased in these two directions. In the night sky, the sound of clothes fluttering in the wind could not be heard. Suddenly, dozens of crowns appeared in the night sky. All the people of the martial world who saw this scene felt cold all over. This was a stage that belonged exclusively to experts. At this moment, ordinary people with mediocre cultivation should not even think about it. It was best to retreat. Dozens of king-level experts? What the fuck is going on? Chu Yang's figure was like a bolt of lightning, turning into a white line in the sky, showing a sense of urgency. However, he only saw three black-clothed sovereigns when he arrived at the scene. Although his speed was fast, he still could not compare to the king-level experts. Chu Yang's eyes swept around and then landed elegantly. His white clothes fluttered and he landed in front of the three men in black. "Seniors, you're really fast." Chu Yang's gentle voice carried the shyness of a young man. He said softly and slowly, "Although I tried my best and was one step ahead, I still fell behind. Elder Chu is too polite." The three men were all in black and they did not dare to be negligent. "Well, dare I ask the three seniors, did you discover anything after coming first?" Chu Yang asked seriously. Chapter 254. "I was just looking at those glowing things for fun, haha." Chu Yang said sincerely, "I have a little sister at home who loves these glowing things the most. I want to buy them for her to play with. I'm just a youngster, I'm sorry for making you laugh at me." Little sister? The three king-level masters rolled their eyes at the same time. Motherfucker, these lords of great clans are really out of the ordinary. They can lie without batting an eyelid. It's as normal as eating cabbage. Even this young man who seemed to be in his 20s had such an ability. "Yes, we were just looking at them for fun. Ha ha ha." The three king-level masters were naturally not stupid. Even though they belonged to three different clans at this moment, they were surprisingly in sync. Ha ha. Everyone had a tacit understanding, but they all smiled at each other with their own ulterior motives. The sound of clothes fluttering in the air was heard as a few people landed. Even though their faces were covered, everyone knew that they must be familiar with each other to be able to arrive so quickly. "Did you find anything?" "Humph." The three king-level experts from before weren't as courteous to this newcomer as they were to Chu Yang, the Duke of Upper Three Heavens. They ignored him and snorted. Then each of them flew away. "Arrogant my ass." One of the later masters spat and scolded, "Seeing that the three of you didn't fight, I know that you didn't see anything." His words were the truth. If there really was something, then the three king-level masters would have already fought to the death. "Yes. I will also go first." Chu Yang politely took the lead. He smiled and gave his greetings. Then he took 2 steps back in a refined manner. Then he leaped into the air and disappeared without a trace. He really is the Duke of Upper Three Heavens. There is nothing to say about his temperament. One of the king-level masters sighed. Immediately after, everyone's body shook and the crown in the sky also disappeared in an instant. At Heaven-reaching tower, all the lords of Upper Three Heavens were waiting, except for Jianghu, who was sleeping soundly. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, the masters who went out came back. Each of them had an anxious expression as they entered the Duke's room. Then, heaven-reaching tower suddenly became quiet. Everyone was nervously discussing something in their rooms. The light of the sun and moon? Sun and moon shining together? Ao Xian frowned. He stood up and paced back and forth. He muttered, "Could it be that it's not?" Several experts of the Ao clan were calmly sitting opposite him. Each and every one of them seemed to be racking their brains to recall something. There is definitely no such person in the Ask the Heavens martial saint. As for the underworld saber saint, that is even more nonsense. Ao Xian frowned and said, "I always thought that this was King of Hell Chu's scheme. His purpose was to deal with Diwu Qingro and delay Great Zhao's conquest of the world. However, this sun and moon shining together has made me suspicious. This subordinate thinks that this is still a bit deliberately mystifying." A king-level expert said, "After all, this situation is too bizarre. How can a mere saber and a mere sword cause such a phenomenon?" "Just a saber and a sword?" Ao Xian laughed coldly. "Where's the sword of calamity?" Everyone was speechless. "Investigate." Ao Xian said slowly, "Don't be in a hurry to make a move for now. However, we need to inform the clan through divine sense. Investigate all the ancient books. It's best if they are the only ones. Check if there are any abnormalities with the sun and moon shining together." He frowned slightly and said, "I seem to have seen such records before. However, I can't remember clearly." Ao Xian sighed. "When it's time to use the books, I regret not having enough of them." Under his command, the three king-level experts immediately gathered together. They used their own divine sense to activate the spiritual sound transmission ball. This was the most advanced and expensive method of communication in the entire heaven-level continent. This was because the divine sense of three king-level experts couldn't activate it at all. However, it could clearly transmit important information at the first moment. Moreover, there was no error. If it was an ordinary clan in the upper three heavens, they probably wouldn't be able to use this method of communication even if they used all the power of the entire clan. Sun and moon shining together, there must be something fishy about this. Mo Tianyun said heavily. The moment he heard the report, he was sure that this matter was not so simple. The Duke of the upper three heavens has come personally. Moreover, there is such a phenomenon. It must not be something ordinary. Only Mo Tianyun was pacing slowly. There was a hint of doubt in his eyes. Could it be that we have all been deceived by Diwu Qingro? Mo Tianyun's way of thinking was completely different from Ao Xian's. Ao Xian's first thought was to verify it. However, Mo Tianyun's first thought was that he had been schemed against. "Don't disturb me." Mo Tianyun fell into a chair. He rested his chin on his hands and fell into deep thought. The thing that Mo Tianyun was most proud of was that he had a photographic memory. He could remember any ancient book as long as he read it once. Even if he had forgotten it after a long time, he could still remember it as long as he put his mind to it. He sat for a long time. His frown deepened. However, all the ancient books of the clan that he had read since he was a child were all recorded in his mind. Just like a small stream, there is nothing left out. Time passed slowly. Get lost. What sun and moon shining together? Have you seen it in your generation? After Grand Duke Jianghu heard the report, he rolled over on the bed with the quilt wrapped around his body, revealing a thigh that was covered with dense black hair. He scolded and then he started snoring. The two king-level experts looked at each other helplessly, and then retreated. Sun and moon shining together? Dongwu lay sat cross-legged on a prayer mat in the middle of the room. He pondered deeply. You should also think about it. What is the purpose of this? This was the reaction of the Black Saber clan. Sun and moon shining together? Luo Kuwu sat up from the bed. His eyes shined brightly. You two, one will keep an eye on the Mo clan's Mo Tianyun. The other will keep an eye on the Ao clan's Ao Xiayun. As long as they move, we will move. If they do not move, we will not move. Keep an eye on them. Do not relax. This was the reaction of the Luo clan. Or perhaps, this was the most effortless reaction. Gu Yenyang and Gu Yenyu frowned and looked at each other. Why don't we go and ask Mo Tianyun? Something good really happens. Even if our Gu clan cannot eat the meat, it is still good to follow behind and drink the soup. All the great clans have a reaction? Are they sure that the two upper three heavens dukes came for this? Li Xiongtu's beard expanded. He growled, whether it is useful or not, let's get it first. I will leave this matter to the three of you. What? No problem. No matter which clan it is, let's get it first. Saber and sword shine together, sun and moon shine together. Tu Qianhao's reaction was unique. We only need to watch closely and don't act blindly without thinking. We'll let them fight each other to the death as long as the target appears. We'll take advantage of them if we can. But we'll kill them if we have no other choice. No matter what, we cannot afford to lose. Sword and saber reflecting sun and moon. I seem to have some impression of this. It was in a book called Family Discipline and Harmony. Which book was it? Xie Danqiong's tender face still had a shy expression like a girl's, but his two slender eyebrows were slowly knitting together. Sword and saber appearing at the same time. No, tonight is nighttime. Xie Danqiong slowly recalled. His voice was so low that it couldn't be heard. More than 10,000 years ago? No, more than 8,000 years ago. No, more than 1,000 years ago. He frowned. Then he suddenly slapped his thigh. Yes. Yes. What is it? Young lord, did you remember something? The two king-level masters of the Xie clan were startled. More than 1,000 years ago, there was an expert who disappeared like a flash in the pan. Xie Danqiong's phoenix eyes exposed a fierce radiance. His hands that were placed on his knees didn't move. However, two dreamlike viburnum flowers suddenly bloomed in his white jade-like palms, slowly rotating. This expert was a sword and saber dual master, and was called a saint at the same time. Xie Danqiong said in a low voice, "Sword and saber madman, Dong Fang Tsang Qiong." Dong Fang Tsang Qiong? The two king-level masters were perplexed. Suddenly, a flash of lightning illuminated the heaven and earth. They called out in a low voice at the same time. Dong Fang Tsang Qiong is known as the saber and sword madman. Only he has the symbol valley, Xie Danqiong said calmly. The saber and the sword of the sun can slay immortals and gods. His brilliance shines through the ages. He is the saber and the sword madman. Legend has it that Dong Fang Tsang Qiong shocked the upper three heavens when he made his move. That's because he was a master of both saber and sword. He was a saint-level master. Could be said that he was at the peak of perfection. He only appeared for a short period of 20 years. However, the saber and the sword of the sun turned the entire upper three heavens upside down. Legend has it that a blazing sun and a cold moon would appear in the sky as long as he used his saber and sword. Xie Danqiong said softly, 20 years later, an expert of the Three Stars Divine Clan suddenly appeared for some unknown reason. He wreaked havoc in the upper three heavens. No one could stop him. Dong Fang Tsang Qiong was the #1 expert at that time. He was duty-bound. Therefore, he went to the meeting alone and fought a decisive battle with that expert of the Divine Clan. From then on, there was no news of him. That expert of the Three Stars Divine Clan never appeared again. Therefore, the marvelous scene of the saber and the sword reflecting the sun and the moon, and the two brilliances of the firmament disappeared. The two dreamy snowflakes in Xie Danqiong's palms spun more and more rapidly. His fair and tender face showed a trace of excitement. This is not the Ask the Heavens sword and the Underworld saber. Could it be the sunlight saber and the moonlight sword of the saber and sword saints Dong Fang Tsang Qiong? The two king-level masters of the Xie clan shook at the same time. Their faces showed a pleasantly surprised expression. No one knew that Xie Danqiong had always been low-key. However, his encyclopedic knowledge was the best in the upper three heavens. But if it is true, with the strength of our Xie clan, wanting to obtain it is just wishful thinking. Xie Danqiong's eyes were calm and his face was tranquil. The only way is to take advantage of the chaos and fish in troubled waters. From today onwards, don't move. Don't move? The two king-level masters asked at the same time. Yes, don't move. Xie Danqiong said calmly, we are inferior to the Dong clan, the Ji clan, the Mo clan, and the Ao clan when it comes to the strength of our clan. But as long as these two weapons are verified by them, they will inevitably fight fiercely over them. But you must know that, when two tigers fight, one of them is bound to be injured. With our strength, I'm afraid we will lose our lives if we don't stay calm. Chapter 255. In another room, Ao Xie Yun suddenly realized, saber sword madman? Beside him, the eyes of the three king-level masters lit up and their bodies shook. Sun and moon shine together, saber and sword saints. Ao Xie Yun took a deep breath. If that's true then, this is no small matter. He did not wait for the three king-level masters to express their opinions. He waved his hand and said, however, before we are sure, we must be cautious. We must not expose our intentions. He suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, that Duke Chu may not be telling the truth. His attitude can be said to be probing, but it can also be said that he is loosening the reins only to grasp them better. We must not make any mistakes. Ao Xie Yun cautiously said, you must not be agitated and impulsive. At this time you must be even more cautious. This includes every word you say, even every cough you make. Every action you take, even every step you take, you have to think it through clearly. Understand? Do you understand? If it is not Sunlight Saber and Moonlight Sword left behind by Saber and Sword Madman, then this matter may be a conspiracy. And this conspiracy is aimed at the big clans of the three heavens. If this is the case, we must not let the schemer succeed. Ao Xie Yun slowly paced back and forth, his voice became calmer and deeper. But if it is really Sunlight Saber and Moonlight Sword left behind by Saber and Sword Madman, then this matter is a big whirlpool. Once you step in and cannot pull out, it is possible that the three heavens will be destroyed. But this is also a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Be careful, be cautious. Be careful, to the extreme. Ao Xie Yun took a deep breath, but his eyes flashed with an indescribable light. But whether it is true or not, this is a conspiracy. And we still do not know who is the mastermind behind this conspiracy. Such an opponent is worthy of me, Ao Xie Yun, to go all out. Mo Tian Yun woke up from his contemplation. He frowned and said in a low voice, if the sun and moon shine together is true, then it is Sunlight Saber and Moonlight Sword left behind by Saber and Sword Madman. That year, Saber and Sword Madman fought against the Three Stars Divine Clan and did not return. His two peerless heavenly weapons also disappeared without a trace. Legend has it that when the Sunlight Saber and the Moonlight Sword meet, a strange phenomenon will appear in the sky. But when the two swords meet, there is nothing special about them. When the two divine weapons meet, the secrets of the Sunlight Saber and the Moonlight Sword would be revealed, and they would become unrivaled experts. Saber and Sword Maniac relied on Sunlight Saber and Moonlight Sword to set foot on the path of the Saber and Sword Saints. If we can obtain Sunlight Saber and Moonlight Sword, then even 10,000 Mo Tianjis would not be able to shake my position in the Mo clan. Moreover, the Mo clan will be able to dominate the upper three heavens and fight for the position of the great clan. The more Mo Tian Yun thought about it, the hotter his heart became. However, this matter still needs to be handled carefully. You can't be careless. Mo Tian Yun muttered to himself. His feminine eyes flashed with determination. If we really fight, then my opponents will be the Black Saber clan and the Ao clan. The rest of us are nothing to worry about. After all, he was different from Ao Xie Yun. Although the two of them had similar intelligence, their situations were completely different. Ao Xie Yun, as the number one successor of the Ao clan, had a stable position and could sit back and relax. Therefore, in the face of this great temptation, he could still maintain a clear mind and clearly calculate the pros and cons of all aspects and how to deal with it. In an instant, he had already extended his thoughts to the problem of success or failure. Moreover, no matter how things progressed, he had already thought of countermeasures. Although Mo Tian Yun was now a Grand Duke, his position was not stable. His younger brother Mo Tianji was eyeing him covetously and was ready to replace him at any time. Therefore, when Mo Tian Yun encountered such a great temptation, the first thing he thought of was the stability of his position, and then the rise and fall of his clan. He immediately began to plot against his opponent. On this point, the two were completely different. All the great clans were discussing, but the discussion time was very short. After all, these men were very decisive people. However, the two people who should be the first to make a decision, Ao Xie Yun and Mo Tian Yun, pondered for a long time. Mo Tian Yun thought over and over again but was not sure. Ao Xie Yun also thought over and over again, but could not come to a conclusion. But there was one thing that the two of them did not agree on. Once the war started, the first two great clans to bear the brunt would be their two clans. And no matter what dispute there was, the final solution would be. It would have to go through their two clans. All the great clans had their own ulterior motives. Yes, there was one person who did not have ulterior motives. Grand Duke Jianghu. This young master was sleeping soundly. He didn't see the anxious faces of the king-level experts of his clan. They looked as if they were about to jump up and down. Not long after Chu Yang returned to his room, Gu Duxing came in through the window. "How is it?" Gu Duxing asked. "It's about time," Chu Yang said, "but right now we are just observing. We are still making plans and calculations. We are far from being hot-blooded and crazy. It seems that we have to do it again." "That's good," Gu Duxing said, "but if we do it again, only one can appear. We can't have two at the same time. The commotion is too big. It's best to appear under the name of Ask the Heaven's Sword or Underworld Saber. Of course. Chu Yang smiled mysteriously. The location for the next time will be the final danger zone. Have you chosen it? I am considering whether to choose the Royal Palace or the Imperial Mausoleum. Chu Yang snorted and said, or the headquarters of Golden Horse Riders Department? Royal Palace, Imperial Mausoleum, the headquarters of Golden Horse Riders Department? Gu Duxing sucked in a breath of cold air. This Big Brother Chu's heart was truly too vicious. Gu Duxing could imagine that if such a situation were to explode, then Great Zhao would not be as simple as just a big mess. It would definitely be a disaster for the entire country. On this night, Wu Yunliang led the remaining 300 people of Beyond the Heavens sect to Iron Cloud Citadel. Wu Yunliang had come several times and had secret talks with Tai Butian. But every time he came it was to ask for an audience. Tai Butian's attitude was reserved and distant. At that time Tai Butian was only a Grand Duke. But this time when he came to Iron Cloud, it was already late at night. Moreover, Tai Butian, who was already the ruler of a country, personally came out to welcome him. He gave Wu Yunliang enough face. This made the people of Beyond the Heavens sect feel honored. After some greetings and introductions, Tai Butian's eyes searched for a long time. In the end he could not help but ask Wu Yunliang in a low voice, "Sect Master Wu, may I ask where your sect's senior Meng is?" Wu Yunliang smiled bitterly and said, "My youngest martial brother has already left lower 3 heavens for upper 3 heavens. Tai Butian said apologetically, "It seems that Senior Meng had no choice." "Yes, my youngest martial brother said that if he stayed in lower 3 heavens, he would become a tool for Diwuqing Ro to attack his younger martial brothers." Wu Yunliang sighed softly. Youngest martial brother is proud and arrogant. Plus, he cares about his 2 younger martial brothers to the bone. How could he allow himself to be a burden to them? So he decided to leave. Tai Butian sighed softly. He was also a bit disappointed. He wanted to see Chu Yang's master and junior martial brother this time. He wanted to see what kind of master could teach such a talented disciple. He did not expect that Meng Chao Ran had already left. He left so freely without any hesitation. "Dare I ask your majesty, what is your majesty planning to do with our Beyond the Heavens sect?" Wu Yunliang asked tentatively. He did not want to ask, but Tai Butian's unexpected courteous attitude made Wu Yunliang ask this question. Tai Butian calmed down and said casually, "Beyond the Heavens sect will naturally remain Beyond the Heavens sect. Our strength will not be divided and we will not belong to any department. What does Sect Master Wu think?" Yes. Wu Yunliang was startled. He originally wanted to merge Beyond the Heavens sect into Butian Pavilion. Then, under Chu Yang's supervision, he could smoothly catch the spies of the sect. While he was at it, he could follow the vine to the melon and expose Diwuqing Ro's scheme. After all, Chu Yang and Wu Qianqian were both at Butian Pavilion. Both of them had high positions and power. Butian Pavilion could not be separated from Beyond the Heavens sect. However, Tai Butian's words mercilessly shattered his fantasy. Moreover, Tai Butian's cold face told him that there was no need to talk about this anymore. Thinking of this, Wu Yunliang smiled bitterly. Tai Butian personally came out to welcome them, but how could it be for me? It was clearly for Meng Chao Ran. She was giving face to King of Hell Chu. As for me, the sect master of Beyond the Heavens sect. It's not worth mentioning. After arranging the people of Beyond the Heavens sect in a designated place, Tai Butian left behind a few officials to entertain them and returned to the palace. After a while, Wu Qianqian arrived under the escort of Butian Pavilion. This is not possible. Wu Qianqian shook her head firmly. Chu Yang once said that anyone can enter Butian Pavilion, but not Beyond the Heavens sect. Wei Mao. Wu Yunliang was a little dumbfounded. Just letting a few people in was good enough. He did not expect Chu Yang to block this path ahead of time. If Beyond the Heavens sect wants to stay in Iron Cloud for a long time and flourish, it cannot enter the political arena and cannot enter Butian Pavilion. Wu Qianqian said, "This is what Chu Yang once said. He knew that as long as you came, you would ask to enter Butian Pavilion or some other department. He told me to tell you, don't even think about it." Chu Yang said that if you really do this, then as long as Iron Cloud's crisis is not over, Beyond the Heavens sect will be fine. But once Iron Cloud's crisis is over, Beyond the Heavens sect will definitely be destroyed by Tai Butian. No ruler would allow their officials to collude with other sects. No wise ruler would allow this. If Beyond the Heavens sect is not used to death by Diwuqing Ro, but dies under the butcher's knife of the people they are loyal to, that would be the greatest tragedy. These are all Chu Yang's words. Wu Qianqian said, I think Chu Yang's words are very reasonable. Chapter 256. Yes, Chu Yang also wanted me to tell you that no matter why you expelled him from Beyond the Heavens sect, he is no longer a member of Beyond the Heavens sect. Wu Qianqian hesitated and said, therefore when you estimate the strength of Beyond the Heavens sect, you must exclude him. Otherwise you will suffer. Ah. Miao Yunliang sighed. He could not describe the feeling in his heart. Chu Yang also. Wu Qianqian lowered her head. What else did he say? Wu Yunliang frowned and smiled bitterly. He said, if you want me to stay in Butian Pavilion, then it would be best if you also expel me, the female slave, from Beyond the Heavens sect. Wu Qianqian bit her lips and said with difficulty, this way we can truly guarantee Beyond the Heavens sect's future. Wu Yunliang sighed. Wu Yunliang was dumbstruck. Before coming here he had thought about this possibility. But now that everything was going well, he could not help but feel that this was an illusion. He thought that all of this could be done. His original goal was to survive in the gap between Great Zhao and Iron Cloud, to survive under the bullying of the big sections. But now he had succeeded. He did not even have to wait for the final step to achieve his first goal. Therefore he was greedy. If the government and Jianghu developed at the same time and supported each other, would Beyond the Heavens sect not become the #1 sect in the world in a few years? But at this moment the ruthless reality hit him hard in the head. Eldest martial brother, do not forget that Beyond the Heavens sect belongs to Jianghu. Meng Chaorant's words once again echoed in his mind, if you insist on letting Beyond the Heavens sect enter the imperial court, there is only one possibility. That is when Beyond the Heavens sect is completely wiped out, and only a few people are left. The court is the court, Jianghu is Jianghu, and sects are sections. This cannot be reconciled and cannot be combined. Even the sects and clans of Jianghu are completely different, let alone Jianghu and the court. Good. Wu Yunliang's face seemed to have aged a few years. He turned his head and said, then I will follow your wishes and expel you. The walls of Beyond the Heavens sect. Wu Qianqian took a deep breath. She stared blankly for a long while. Suddenly, a bitter feeling of despair arose in her heart. Chu Yang did not say that he was no longer a member of Beyond the Heavens sect. He also did not say anything about Wu Yunliang expelling Wu Qianqian from the sect. Wu Qianqian had acted on her own initiative. Wu Qianqian had undoubtedly sacrificed her youthful years when she had made this decision. She had sacrificed her entire life for the sake of the black robe that represented King of Hell Chu. Perhaps your legend isn't here. Perhaps your future isn't here. Wu Qianqian thought quietly. Perhaps your future doesn't include me. But I'm willing to protect the legend you've created in this place. Black Robe is here, King of Hell Chu is here, and you are here. You know how I feel, but you can't respond. I have never made myself known, for I have my pride. Even though I, Wu Qianqian, am just a girl from the pugilistic world, and even though I will never be able to catch up to your achievements, I still have my pride and dignity as a girl. That's why I didn't say anything. I didn't want to receive a clear rejection, and I didn't want to make things difficult for you. But I am here. Even if my heart is broken, even if my soul is broken, even if I am beyond redemption, I am willing to protect this dream of my heart. I will never tell anyone about it in this life. Wu Qianqian silently and firmly said this to herself. At this moment she was silent, but she was making a lifelong promise in her heart. Wu Yunliang sighed. He did not know what had happened, but he could clearly feel that his daughter, who was in the prime of her life at this moment of silence, was filled with heartbreak and depression. I'm going back. Wu Qianqian turned around and put on her black robe. The loose black robe covered her thin figure. She walked out with her head held high. She was displaying the domineering aura of King of Hell Chu at this moment. It didn't matter if it was her movements, footsteps, or aura. That kind of cruel and ruthless aura. Even though no one knew that behind this terrifying black robe that symbolized all of Iron Cloud, there was a delicate heart that was breaking little by little. The experts of Butian Pavilion who had been waiting outside immediately appeared and escorted this King of Hell Chu, who had shaken the entire Iron Cloud. Eldest brother. Kong Jingfeng walked out from behind the screen. Qianqian has really grown up. Yes, she has grown up. Wu Yunliang let out a long sigh and said, she has grown up to the point where even I, her father, do not understand her. When Wu Qianqian returned, Tai Butian was waiting for her at Butian Pavilion. Your Majesty? It is so late. Why are you here? Wu Qianqian asked in surprise. I couldn't sleep. There is something I need to discuss with you. Tai Butian sighed deeply. Between her eyebrows, there was an unconcealable worry. What is it? Wu Qianqian immediately became spirited. She knew that something that could make Tai Butian reveal such an expression was not a small matter. Butian Pavilion is going to make a big move. And you, King of Hell Chu, will have to make a few public appearances. Tai Butian said in a low voice. Did he encounter some trouble in Great Zhao? Wu Qianqian asked. Diwu Qingro is not easy to deal with. That's right. Minister Chu has successfully caused chaos in the continent. However, he has also created an opportunity for Diwu Qingro. What we need to do now is to prove that King of Hell Chu is still an Iron Cloud. Tai Butian looked at the black robe on his body. King of Hell Chu will always be an Iron Cloud. He will not leave. Niao Qianqian said in a low voice. Regarding the operation, I have been planning it these past few days. It should be carried out tomorrow. But Wu Qianqian raised her head. Her eyes were sharp. This is our Butian Pavilion's matter. The information should have reached my hands immediately. How did it reach your Majesty? This should be Qin Yu Tong's dereliction of duty. Tai Butian cut a rare sorry figure under Wu Qianqian's pressuring gaze. He straightened his face and coughed a few times. Then he said, I was the one who requested clan leader Qin to report to me as soon as possible regarding any news from the Great Zhao. But this is not in accordance with Butian Pavilion's procedures. Wu Qianqian said bluntly, Your Majesty, please take back this decision. Tai Butian opened his mouth and looked at her. After a long time, a complicated look appeared in his eyes. He said, That's fine. As for Butian Pavilion's operation, I will arrange it overnight. Wu Qianqian said indifferently, If your Majesty has nothing else to say, please go back. This was the autonomy he left for Butian Pavilion. Whatever he left behind she could not lose. Therefore Wu Qianqian's performance was extremely strong. She would not yield an inch. Even if she was facing the Emperor. This was Wu Qianqian's greatest pride. But this kind of forcefulness made Tai Butian suddenly have a strange feeling in her heart. Tai Butian looked at Wu Qianqian's golden ferocious mask in a daze. Looking at the black robe that covered her body tightly, a strange look appeared in his eyes. It was as if he was yearning, as if he was reminiscing, and as if he was angry. Wu Qianqian was shocked. Looking at Tai Butian's eyes, Wu Qianqian could not help but think too much. She thought about how His Majesty still had not married an empress or a concubine. She could not help but become extremely vigilant. Could it be that he actually has those kinds of thoughts towards me? She took 2 steps back and said coldly, Your Majesty, this is Butian Pavilion. Your Majesty, please conduct yourself with dignity. Tai Butian immediately became embarrassed. He coughed repeatedly and looked embarrassed. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. Have thoughts towards you? How is this possible? Then cough cough cough, I will take my leave. Farewell, Your Majesty. Watching Tai Butian leave under the protection of the shadow guards, Niao Qianqian's eyes revealed a repressed look. Chuyang, you bastard. You left me here. If by any chance His Majesty. Humph, if that happens Wu Qianqian would rather die. I will not let him have his way. My heart is already buried deep for you. Wu Qianqian's eyes slowly became as calm as ice. She waved her hand and said in a low voice, Send my order. Tell Hall Leader Qin to come here immediately. Not long after, Qin Yu Tong almost sprinted to King of Hell Chu's door. Just as he was about to knock, the door suddenly opened. King of Hell Chu, wearing a black robe and a mask, appeared like a ghost. Hall Leader Qin. You have been quite bold during this period of time. King of Hell Chu's strange words almost scared Qin Yu Tong out of his wits. I do not dare. Haha, you do not dare? What do you not dare to do, Hall Leader Qin? Wu Qianqian smiled sinisterly. Even the information about our Butian Pavilion can't be seen by me, the minister. Yet the Emperor is here to tell us. Qin Yu Tong fell to his knees. Minister, this is His Majesty's secret order. I do not dare to disrespect you. I do not care what difficulties you have. Wu Qianqian said without the slightest bit of sympathy, Since you have done it, you must bear the consequences. Hall Leader Qin, do you think Heavenly Secrets Hall is punishing you? Or are you punishing yourself? I am willing to accept the punishment. Qin Yu Tong shuddered. Minister Chu's way of handling things was becoming more and more unpredictable. If Heavenly Secrets Hall was punished because of him, then everyone would know that he, the hall leader, was the one who was implicated. He had already been through this once. If it happened again, he would not be far from stepping down. 200 strikes of the rod. Wu Qianqian said casually, "Go get it yourself. If you miss one strike, you will automatically retire. Get out of here." Wu Qianqian roared, "If something like this happens again, be careful of your head." Qin Yu Tong fled in defeat. The surrounding guards were as silent as cicadas in winter. Wu Qianqian was silent for a while and said, "Pass down my order. Tell Hall Leader Qin to prepare for action." Yes. Chapter 257. On the way back to the Imperial Palace, Tai Butian frowned as she sat in the palanquin. Her eyes were somewhat frustrated. "I just want to know if he is doing well in Great Zhao. Is he in danger? Is Jianghu going well? Whether or not he could withstand the immense pressure he was under right now. That was all." But Wu Qianqian's resolute and decisive struggle just now was very similar to, "They are all pitiful people." Tai Butian heaved a long sigh. Unknowingly she had blurted out these words. "What orders does your majesty have?" The two shadow guards asked at the same time, "Pitiful people?" "Oh, nothing." Tai Butian's muffled and embarrassed voice came out from the palanquin. The two shadow guards said, "Oh," and disappeared into the void. In the palanquin, Tai Butian reached out and touched her hot cheeks. Thinking of the sentence just now, she couldn't help but smile bitterly and helplessly. Pitiful. Who is more pitiful? At least Wu Qianqian has a black robe and a king of hell Chu. But I don't even have these. Being born in the royal family, was he destined to be a loner? Tai Butian heaved a long sigh. Who would know that I, the emperor, actually don't want to sit on the throne? Oh, men who plow and women weave, your greatest hope in life is the golden horse and jade hall. But do you know that my greatest wish is to be like you, working at sunrise and resting at sunset, men plow and women weave, living a leisurely life? Tai Butian tiredly closed her eyes. Her body gently swayed along with the palanquin. She slowly felt that her heart was as lonely as the ice and snow at the top of the mountain. The road of the emperor is a lonely road. And I, Tai Butian, am destined to be more lonely than any other emperor. Because, the second half of the night, Diwu Qingrou's face was so ugly that it was somewhat scary. Sun and moon resurgence? Are you sure? I'm sure. Jing Minghun's face was also not good. The moment he saw the sun and moon resurgence, he saw dozens of crowns appear in the sky. It was as if he saw the sky collapse. Sun and moon resurgence for 10,000 years, there is only one possibility. And it is related to sabers and swords. Diwu Qingrou took a deep breath and said, "Sunlight saber and moonlight sword. So ruthless. King of Hell Chu, you are so calculating." Jing Minghun was shocked. Diwu Qingrou had clearly gritted his teeth and said these words. Being able to make Diwu Qingrou's face turn ugly was already an incredible matter. Being able to make Diwu Qingrou gnash his teeth was even more unimaginable. Everything is interconnected, everything is interconnected. Diwu Qingrou sighed and slowly said, "This should be King of Hell Chu's response." I hadn't expected that King of Hell Chu's counterattack would come so quickly and so sinisterly. Counterattack? Jing Minghun was puzzled. Even if it caused an even fiercer fight, it should still proceed according to the Prime Minister's plan. What was there to be afraid of? You don't understand. What's frightening isn't this kind of competition. What's frightening is where King of Hell Chu will detonate this competition. Diwu Qingrou sighed and said, "There are two places for King of Hell Chu to choose from. One is the Imperial Palace, and the other is the headquarters of Golden Horse Riders Department. If he chooses the Imperial Palace, it would be fine. Even if there is chaos, it would still be bearable. But if he detonates it at the headquarters of Golden Horse Riders Department, then not only would all our efforts in the past few days be for naught, the entire Feng province would become a rotten mess. It would also be very likely that we would lose most of our manpower. You should know that the suction force of these sabers and swords is aimed at the clans of the three heavens." Diwu Qingrou frowned. "And these people, even if they are lying in front of our door with only one breath left, they are not people we can recruit. We can only treat them and then send them away. There is no benefit for us. Tomorrow I will personally go to Heaven Reaching Tower. In addition to meeting the two Grand Masters Chu, I will also test the reactions of the major clans. I hope that the scene I don't want to see the most does not appear." Diwu Qingrou's eyes were full of worry as he slowly spoke. The next morning, Chu Yang had just woken up when he heard a knock on the door. The shopkeeper of Heaven-Reaching Tower, Du Fa Kai, had come to visit. Grandmaster Chu, haha, did you sleep well? Du Fa Kai smiled from ear to ear. Not bad. Chu Yang washed himself and said casually, it was hard on you, Mr. Du. How did you know that I like this kind of absolute purple orchid the most? I really did not think of it. Du Shaokai became even more respectful and said, My lord, this lowly one had to go to several places to get the absolute fragrance of the purple orchid from the imperial palace. If my lord is satisfied, then this lowly one is relieved. Chu Yang wiped his face with a towel and said, It is so early in the morning. Does shopkeeper Du have an urgent matter? Yes. Du Fa Kai respectfully said, It is the Prime Minister of Great Zhao, Diwu Qingro, who sent someone to deliver an invitation. He wants to see the two Grand Masters this morning. This little one will pass on the message. Prime Minister of Great Zhao? Diwu Qingro? Chu Yang closed his eyes and revealed a thoughtful expression. His tone was also interrogative. This Prime Minister Diwu is an extraordinary character. Du Fa Kai kindly reminded him. With his own strength he created Great Zhao's current prosperity. As he said this, he talked a lot. It seems that shopkeeper Du has a deep impression of this Prime Minister Diwu. Chu Yang said with a smile that was not a smile, If that is the case, how can I not give shopkeeper Du face? As he said this, he reached out and took the invitation. Du Fa Kai tactfully retreated. Diwu Qingrou's invitation? Chu Yang flipped through the gilded greeting card, and a feeling of absurdity arose in his heart. He smiled and opened the invitation. On it was written, Greetings brother Chu, Qingro has come to pay respects. These 8 words were written in an elegant and vigorous style. They were written in a strict manner. It was as steady as a mountain, but it also revealed an awe-inspiring aura. Looking at the literal meaning, it seemed like it was an old friend who had not seen each other for many years. This handwriting must have been deliberately done by Diwu Qingro. It is to give me a show of strength. Chu Yang smiled and put the invitation aside. He thought to himself, It seems that Diwu Qingro still suspects that I am king of Hell Chu. But since this guy dares to take the risk, he has some courage. Chu Yang thought and suddenly shivered. It can't be just some courage. Could it be that Diwu Qingro himself is a master? I can't eliminate this possibility. Originally, Chu Yang planned to let Gu Duxing receive Diwu Qingro when he came, but now he changed his mind. Since Diwu Qingro was coming, why should he hide? Diwu Qingro was already suspicious of his identity. If he avoided meeting him, wouldn't it make him even more suspicious? If that is the case, then I will deal with you, the wisest person in the world. Chu Yang's eyes revealed a meaningful smile. This was his biggest opponent in the lower 3 heavens. If he did not meet him, no matter who won or lost in the future, he would inevitably have regrets in his heart. Diwu Qingro is coming? Gu Duxing walked over from the next room. He was full of energy. Yes. Should I deal with him or you? I will. Chu Yang said, but don't go away. So as not to complicate matters. Gu Duxing nodded. Suddenly, his eyes flashed with a lightning-like sword intent. If I kill this guy with one strike, absolutely not. Chu Yang was shocked. Who is Diwu Qingro? If he dares to come, how can he not be sure of his safety? I am sure that if we make a move, not only will we not be able to kill him, we will also die without a doubt. Gu Duxing said casually, I am just joking with you. Chu Yang sighed. How could he not see that Gu Duxing's heart was already filled with killing intent? He said seriously again, absolutely not. Do you understand? Okay. Gu Duxing said unwillingly. Also, don't show your hostility. Chu Yang warned again. Okay. Your aura? Okay. Your sword energy? Are you tired of it? Chu Yang was speechless. When the morning sun shone on the earth, Diwu Qingro arrived at Heaven-Reaching Tower. There were only 2 people accompanying him. Jing Minghun and Yin Wu Tian. With these 2 king-level leaders by his side, Diwu Qingro was confident that even if Heaven-Reaching Tower was a dragon's lair or a tiger's den, it would not be able to stop him. Prime Minister, Duke Chu has been waiting for you for a long time. Du Fa Kai stepped forward and said. Shopkeeper Du has worked hard. Diwu Qingro smiled. Did Duke Chu say anything? Du Fa Kai was startled and said, Duke Chu did not say anything, but from his expression, it seems like he is used to it. Used to it? Diwu Qingro chuckled and said, "Shopkeeper Du, please lead the way." "Thank you." When Diwu Qingro climbed the stairs to the last floor, he suddenly felt something and could not help but look up. In front of him was a vast expanse of snow and ice. Two young men in white stood quietly at the top of the stairs to welcome him. It was only two people, but Diwu Qingro suddenly felt like he was surrounded by flowers and jade trees. At the same time, a faintly discernible sword energy surged in the air. This was not a murderous aura, nor was it sword energy, nor was it an imposing aura. It was a kind of charm that a swordsman could unconsciously emit. This charm was something that even a top swordsman would not be able to completely conceal. To be able to conceal it to such an extent, it was enough to show that these two young swordsmen were using all their strength. And this kind of attitude, from a fundamental point of view, showed a kind of friendliness. It seemed that these two Duke Chu were curious about Diwu Qingro's visit, but did not have the slightest hostility. "Is Prime Minister Diwu coming in person?" "I am Chu Fei. Greetings." At the top of the stairs, the young man had a gentle smile on his face. He was neither servile nor overbearing as he calmly raised his hand to salute. He did not appear to be flattering or arrogant. It was as if this was a normal visit and the host was eagerly welcoming him. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.